Chapter 617. Wait, while I kill them, for Pyro Cell! The voice that seemed to have passed through the void sounded again as Hong Yan stretched out his finger and pointed at Wang Xian and Roving Sword. Pyro Cell! The moment his voice was heard, flames that shone like sunlight encircled Wang Xian and Roving Sword immediately. The flames slowly blended together, forming a 3-meter-tall flaming cage. There were no flames rising from the entire flaming cage as the domineering red and gold fire had already coagulated into a real solid cage. Pyro Cell. SSS. This is the usual means of an immortal. They saw the immortal trapping the duo with a cage that suddenly appeared out of nowhere. All the surrounding elders revealed a surprised look. 2 tricky enemies were now easily trapped by the immortal excellency. This was the mightiness of an immortal. A daunting power. Hong Yan Excellency, I propose killing them right away. Since they killed so many of our men, we cannot let them off. Yes, kill them all. One by one, the elders exclaimed. They glowered at Wang Xian and Roving Sword with eyes full of killing intent. Someone from the age of Dharma decline has actually caused you people to be so passive. All of you should practice hard in the future because Yong Chang is going to descend into the real world, said Hong Yan nonchalantly to them with a slight dissatisfying tone. Yes, Hong Yan Excellency is right. The elders hurriedly responded with respect. Hong Yan nodded impassively as he looked at Wang Xian and Roving Sword. Without any emotion in his voice, he said, Great talents. You are the unparalleled talents even in Yongchang world, but you should not kill people over here. Since you have killed someone over here, bear the consequences now. Hong Yan Excellency is going to strike. Phew, luckily our sect leader came here in time. Otherwise, who knows how many lives we were going to lose just to kill them off. The 2 of them were too wickedly strong. However, our sect leader will surely kill them off easily if he strikes. Upon hearing the words from Hong Yan Excellency, all the elders were slightly relieved. Phew, finally the Dragon King is going to be killed. No matter how demon-like the people from the real world are, they will get sanctioned for being insolent in Yongchang world. Hong Yan Excellency is simply too strong. A finger of his can kill the Dragon King and Roving Sword. Those disciples below who saw this also heaved a sigh of relief. The scene of Roving Sword killing their elders was too horrifying. As such, they let out a sigh of relief when the group of supreme talents saw that the immortal expert was here. Now, they had developed a fear for Dragon King and Roving Sword. Is that so? Wang Xian looked at the Hong Yan who overlooked them, ready to sentence them. Wang Xian curved his lips slightly. He was an immortal, the first one that he had met. His mouth quirked slightly as he stared at Hong Yan. I would really like to find out the consequences, Wang Xian said as he looked at Roving Sword. Stop him while I kill a few more people. Yes, Dragon King. Roving Sword respectfully nodded. You're already the meat on the plate. When an elder heard what Wang Xian said, he replied with coldness and disdain. However, his voice came to an abrupt halt. In the eyes of many, the pyro cell around Wang Xian collapsed straightaway. The one that was trapping Roving Sword also crashed directly. Blue water energy and a golden metal virtual image appeared around them. Blue, the sacred color. Gold, the noble color. The colors that could compete with the sun slowly rose from their bodies. Feng Ao Dong, Liang family. Well, before I go, I'll destroy you guys first. Wang Xian startled everyone with his nonchalant voice. Upon seeing the collapsing pyro cell, solemnness swept across the calm-looking face of Hong Yan. Stop moving! Roving Sword held his long sword up and pointed it at Hong Yan. It was just a simple action, but what shocked everyone the most was all the long metallic swords in all directions turned to Hong Yan. Each of the swords contained fearsome energy. What's going on? An elder could not help but shiver as he stared at Wang Xian and Roving Sword in disbelief. Immortal Realm, I didn't expect that you two could advance to the Immortal Realm. As soon as Hong Yan spoke, he looked stern. He stole a few glances at the long swords around him, and the sword radiance struck a slight terror in him. He looked at Wang Xian again, and the blue energy that was similar to sun rays glowing from behind him. The domineering power in it caused his expression to turn dreadful. Great waterfall water shockwave! Before anyone could react, the horrifying energy burst out from Wang Xian's body immediately. As a pivot in the center, the daunting water region spread out at a fascinating speed. Wham! In an instant, the great waterfall water shockwave shrouded an area with a radius of 10 kilometers. All the people around, including the hundreds of thousands of disciples from the three immortal sects, were encompassed by the great waterfall water shockwave. No! Yet the one comment that Hong Yan made struck horror in all the elders and disciples from the three immortal sects. As they watched the water region besieging them, fear welled up in their eyes. Great waterfall water shockwave! The high-class battle techniques that only those in the immortal class can release. He's an immortal! Roving Sword is also an immortal. He has locked on to Hong Yan Excellency. This... Everyone felt like they were being thrown off into a fugue state. Now that they were amid the water region, only Hong Yan Excellency was holding their ground. Yet, he was being locked onto by the surrounding long swords. Even the immortal class Hong Yan Excellency was locked onto, and dared not act recklessly. This struck fear into them. Great waterfall water shockwave! We're actually within the attack range of an immortal. Gosh, both of them are immortals. No wonder they could easily kill the elders. Since we're amid the water region of an immortal, it would be just too easy for him to kill us all. When the hundreds of thousands of disciples realized they had entered the water region, their bodies trembled even though the water did not attack them. But the oppression from an immortal caused a sense of worship to surge from within them. Their lives were completely in the hands of the Dragon King. A Dragon King who had come from the real world was an immortal class existence. Hong Yan peered around as he saw all the disciples from three major immortal sects were shrouded by great waterfall water shockwave. His face grimaced. Don't be reckless! Hong Yan stared at Wang Xian with a sullen look. Otherwise, you'll not walk out of Yongchang. Don't worry. I'll leave after I kill some people. Does the immortal of Yongchang world agree with this? As Wang Xian scorned, the 5 long swords beside him began to spin. He swept his gaze across everyone. I'm the Dragon King of the Dragon sect from the real world. Let me give you a piece of advice. When Yongchang world descends into the real world, keep a low profile and don't offend me. Feng family, Ao family, Dong family, Liang family, step forward to receive your judgment. Chapter 618, Return 1. I'm the Dragon King of the Dragon sect from the real world. Let me give you a piece of advice. When Yongchang world descends into the real world, keep a low profile and don't offend me. Feng family, Ao family, Dong family, Liang family, step forward to receive your judgment. Wang Xian's voice reverberated across a radius of 10 kilometers as he stared coldly at the people before him. Rumble. At the same instant he spoke, a terrifying water shockwave appeared in the sky above the entire water region. That catastrophic energy sent chills down the spines of all disciples and elders from the three immortal sects. Hong Yan stared harshly at Wang Xian and Roving Sword. However, he was fearful of taking action. There were several hundreds of thousands of disciples around, and most of them had not even reached the inborn realm. If he had taken action, their attacks would have caused the deaths of these hundreds of thousands of disciples. These disciples formed the foundation of Yongchang world and he was fearful of wrecking it. Around Wang Xian, everyone was extremely solemn and didn't dare to say a word. They stared at Wang Xian and Roving Sword with fear and trepidation. Feng family, Ao family, Dong family, Liang family. Step forward now! Wang Xian's emotionless voice sounded once again. He looked across the crowd and found that no one was responding. Boom! Wang Xian waved his arm and the terrifying water shockwave charged towards the elders of the Immortal Slaying Sect. No! The 20-odd elders of Immortal Slaying Sect were astonished, and immediately fled with horror. Bam! Bam! Yet, that unmatched energy still fell on the bodies of 5 elders. Instant total annihilation. While they were in the region of the terrifying great waterfall water shockwave, Their bodies couldn't withstand terrifying attacks from an immortal. If no one is stepping forward, I'll just have to kill everyone here. Wang Xian looked emotionlessly across the crowd and remarked coldly. No, no. Wang Xian's words had instilled greater fear into the crowd. Immortal. They were now facing an immortal. Moreover, there were two of them. If the two of them wished to kill them, they would be able to do so with just a wave of their hands. Those from these families step forward right now. Don't implicate others. An elder from Yongchang immortal sect spoke bitterly and softly. Looking at the circumstances, it was clear that the Dragon King would want to kill those from these families. Since they had offended the immortal, they had to pay the price. No. No. Don't kill us! Don't kill us! At this moment, those from the Feng family, Ao family, and 10 other forces could feel the gazes from the surrounding crowd. Instantly, desperation filled their faces. They would have never expected that they would still be killed when Hong Yan Excellency was around. The members from these 10 odd forces were filled with despair. They had offended an immortal. The terrifying immortal. Boom! At this moment, the entire sky was dyed red. This created a stark contrast with the blue water region that spanned 10 kilometers. Above the water region, 2 figures stood like blinding suns in the air. Yao Yang Eclipse! Hong Yan lifted his head and saw the 2 figures forming in the sky. He instantly shouted. 2 other immortals from Yongchang Immortal Sect had appeared. Yao Yang Excellency and Eclipse Excellency are here. 2 more immortals are here. We are saved. We are saved. We have 3 immortals on our side. The Dragon King and Roving Sword would definitely dare not make a move now. 3 immortals against 2. Things are going to get tough for the Dragon King and his subordinate. With other immortals from our Yongchang world here, even the Dragon King and Roving Sword will die in this place. The Dragon King and Roving Sword have to die. Seeing the appearance of the 2 immortals, those from the 10 odd families were beaming with excitement. The appearance of the 2 excellencies would mean that they wouldn't have to die. The 2 of them stood in the sky and stared right at Wang Xian and Roving Sword with solemn expressions. Are you the Dragon King? Let's end this here and not push it too far. A figure stared at Wang Xian and commented coldly. Haha! I'll stop right after I kill those I want to kill. Seeing the arrival of the 2 immortals, Wang Xian laughed out loud and waved his arm. Within the great waterfall water shockwave, terrifying water shockwaves were launched towards various people. A while ago, he could roughly verify who were from these 10 odd families through the eyes of the rest. What? No. No. Yao Yang Excellency. Eclipse Excellency. Save us. Save us. The disciples from these 10 odd families were filled with despair, and they cried for help in horror. When the 2 figures saw the Dragon King continuing to attack, they frowned and were clearly discontented. They couldn't stop and wouldn't be able to. Around them, several hundreds of thousands of disciples watched the development with fear. Despite the arrival of 2 other immortals, the Dragon King still did what he wanted. This was undoubtedly equivalent to taunting their entire Yongchang world. Haha. It's been close to 2 months since I came into Yongchang. It's about time for me to return. Let's meet again in the real world. After the water shockwave, Wang Xian laughed out loud and looked across the 3 immortals. Let's go! He shouted at Roving Sword. The next instant, both of them turned illusory and flew towards the east at incredible speed. Remember my warning. When you enter the real world, keep a low profile. The Dragon King's voice reverberated through the sky. The great waterfall water shockwave dissipated. And the despondent atmosphere was gone. They have headed east. The spirit array in that direction is the weakest. It would appear that they wanted to head out. The attacks of the current spirit array would simply damage them severely and not kill them. The voices of the 3 immortals sounded, and the 3 of them stared bitterly in the direction where Wang Xian and Roving Sword had fled in. The spirit array has been broken, and they have left. After 10 seconds of silence, the fire sparks that were flickering in Hong Yan's eyes disappeared, and he commented. Yao Yang and Eclipse remained silent and looked across the disciples below them. Swish, swish, swish! At this moment, figure after figure arrived at incredible speed. What's the matter? Why were there immortal-level attacks coming from here a while ago? Hong Yan, what happened? The other three figures stood in the sky, frowning as they asked these questions. There were two immortals from the outside world. One of them is called the Dragon King while the other was Roving Sword. They killed some of our people, Hong Yan remarked as his eyes flickered. The next moment, he gestured to Xiao Xiao. Uncle Yan! Xiao Xiao flew over and greeted him softly. Immortals from the real world? There are still immortals from the real world? The other three men were shocked. Greetings, uncles. Those two have likely advanced to the immortal realm in our world. Xiao Xiao bowed at the group of immortals and reported respectfully. Fear and respect filled her eyes. Huh! Advancing to the immortal realm in our world? The rest of the immortals were taken aback and had their attention fixed on Xiao Xiao. Yep. Xiao Xiao nodded her head before continuing. I saw him when I went to the real world. His name is Wang Xian and he should be 21 years old in the current year. He has risen in an exceptionally short period of time and established the sacred sect, Dragon Sect, in the real world. Chapter 619, Return 2. Along with his Dragon Sect, he has struck fear into all the families and clans in the entire Underworld. The entire alliance of the orthodox sects and diabolism did not dare to offend him. He even went up against the strongest sect in the Underworld, Donghua Sacred Sect, and killed dozens of their experts. According to what I know, his way of doing things is overbearing. He will not let anyone off for offending him. Moreover, his strength is powerful. During the fighting between the orthodox sect and diabolism, the Dragon King brought a troop that was almost on par with orthodox sects and diabolism. He even fought with the supreme experts from the orthodox sects and diabolism, and entered Yongchang by chance. The two middle-aged men that my father saved not long ago were the supreme experts from the orthodox sects and diabolism, said Xiao Xiao to the rest of immortals. Recalling the Dragon King of Dragon Sect's doings in the Underworld, she was very shocked. Especially the immortal class strength that he had displayed just now struck horror into her. His talent was really unparalleled. 21! An immortal cried out as he widened his eyes with disbelief. 21-year-old immortal? What concept is this? Most of them had lived for centuries before they stumbled on opportunities to advance to the immortal realm. Yet, the Dragon King was only 21 years old. Such talent was beyond description. Yes, 21 years old. No one in the real world dared to offend him. Both orthodox sects and diabolism are wary and fearful of him. Xiao Xiao nodded her head with force. Greetings to sect leader and your excellencies. At this time, the elders of three immortal sects flew over and bowed to him with respect. Sect leader, that Dragon King was already promoted to blacksmith and alchemy grand master just a few days ago. The great elder of the Hong immortal sect said to one of the immortals in astonishment. Blacksmith and alchemy grand master. That immortal's eyes gleamed and he exchanged a glance with an immortal beside him with eyes filled with disbelief. I didn't think that there would be such a wicked existence in the real world, the Dragon King of Dragon Sect, said Hong Yan slowly. No matter how stunning he is, they only had two immortals. Given the strength of Yongchang, they would have surely perished here if they had not fled, said Eclipse with a darkened expression, recalling the overbearing nature and arrogance of Wang Xian. Forget it. Having two people from the real world who could advance to the immortal realm was already terrifying enough. It looks like we have to be careful when we meet Dragon Sect. After Yongchang descends into the real world, let's stay low profile. The moment all the 9 Cauldrons worlds descend into the real world, there will be conflicts and combat is inevitable. Let's wait for Yongchang to descend into the real world. The immortals remarked one by one as they looked down at the hundreds of thousands of disciples below. With a quick change of stance, they took turns and disappeared. Upon hearing the conversations between the immortals, the disciples of the 3 major immortal sects below were dumbfounded and horrified. 21-year-old immortal. He set up a sacred sect in the real world to go up against the entire underworld. A grand master in blacksmith and alchemy. On top of that, the terrifying roving sword was known as the rare swordsmanship genius in immortal slaying sect for the last 10,000 years. Everything added up to their disbelief. Such a domineering figure actually existed in the age of Dharma decline, a world with trashy combat power. For a moment, everyone darkened their expressions. It looks like even when Yongchan descends to the real world, into the age of Dharma decline, we should not act overly brazen. Those disciples who were ready to enter the real world and make their names suddenly lost motivation. The grand contest of 3 major immortal sects was still ongoing, but all the supreme talents were filled with bitterness. Cough, this injury will take at least a few days to recover. At this moment, Wang Xian could not help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. He wiped it off from his pale-looking face, tens of thousands of meters in the air. Roving sword, beside him, was also covered by injuries. However, their injuries were not serious since they had prepared for it. Upon tearing the array apart, Wang Xian turned into a divine dragon straightaway to block off the majority of the array damage. Finally, we're out. It's been almost 2 months. Sensing the sparse spiritual energy in the surroundings, Wang Xian felt a sense of belonging instead. He looked down with a smile. The concrete buildings in the city and the bustling roads. Even though it was no different compared to Yongchang World, it felt very familiar to him. I don't know where we are now, but it must be a city below. Let's go down, confirm our location, and get ready to go back. Wang Xian was beaming. With a quick movement, the two of them appeared on a road as if they had teleported. The cars were passing by around them, and Wang Xian spotted a sign. One city is not that far from Donghua Sacred Sect. It's about an 8-hour journey, and it would be faster if we fly over. Wang Xian looked at the time, and it was noon. I wonder if Xu Qing, Qingwei, Xiao Yu, and Ajaya miss me. After all, they might have been worried about me while I wasn't around. Wang Xian smiled. Xiao Yu, Xu Qing, and the rest might have been worried after he entered Yongchang World, but they would not be too sad about it. With the Dragonians and Ajaya around, they would know that he was still alive. This could make them less worried. Let's buy a phone and take a flight back. Wang Xian told Roving Sword and walked into a shop that collected gold. They sold some gold left in the space ring and bought a phone. Let's give them a call. Wang Xian revealed a broad smile and dialed Xiao Yu on her phone. Her? How come no one is answering? Wang Xian slightly frowned and called Guan Shuqing, then Lan Qingwei one after another. But no one was picking up their phones. What are they doing? Wang Xian was doubtful as he headed to a less populated street, ready to fly back to Rivertown. Haha, today, our sect leader and Emperor Qi of Diabolism will be leading the sacred sects to Rivertown. This time, Dragon Sect is going to be annihilated. Yes, that's great. Remember the time when the Dragon King and his gang were so arrogant a month ago? Now that Dragon King is dead, and the sect leader is back. He is going to work with Emperor Qi to annihilate the Dragon Sect? I wanted to go over today. Unfortunately, my cultivation level is too low, and we can only read the news on the Underworld forum. I heard that all the confidants of the Dragon King are very beautiful. TSK. Diabolism has already said it. They want all the people who are related to the Dragon King to suffer big time. Haha, I guess the confidants of his will be tortured by the people of Diabolism. Brother Lu, do you think they are more beautiful than me? How can they be prettier than Nanan? Haha, don't bother comparing yourself with those people who are ruined. Just as Wang Xian arrived on a remote street, several young guys and girls were sitting in a convertible car, laughing and exchanging conversations. They were gloating at the misfortune of others. Chapter 620, Return of the Dragon King 1. Our sect leader and Emperor Qi have returned as rulers. Now that the alliance of orthodox sects and Diabolism have allied together, this underworld will be our underworld. That's right. The Dragon Sect was just a fleeting existence after all. Several young men were smoking while conversing joyously. Bam! At this moment, a pair of huge hands fell heavily on the car beside them suddenly. Fuck! The group got a scare and exclaimed, "Who the hell did this?" The disciples from Donghua Sacred Sect turned their heads over and stared harshly. Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi are back? They have gone to annihilate the Dragon Sect? Wang Xian's emotionless voice sounded beside their ears. When they saw Wang Xian, they were taken aback and started observing him cautiously. After close to 2 months, Wang Xian's hair had grown a little longer. As he had advanced to level 9, his disposition had also changed. There was innate holiness and a majestic aura around him. Fuck! Who are you? How dare you call our sect leader by his name? Are you too eager to die? Damn! Do you know who owns the world currently? The young disciple couldn't recognize Wang Xian. They glowered at Wang Xian as they scolded him. Wang! Speak! Wang Xian waved his arm at 2 young men, and boiling water that was a scorching hot temperature surrounded the 2 young men. He stared at the young man who had remained silent all this while, and questioned him. You! Just as that young man wanted to speak, he saw his other 2 companions turning into a pool of blood creepily. His eyes widened and he stared at Wang Xian with fear. You! Arg! At the other end, several girls shrieked in fear as they hid in the car. Speak! Killing intent welled up in Wang Xian gradually and shrouded towards the young man. Feeling the grip around his throat from a devil that seemed to be from the abyss, that young man shivered violently. Yes. Our sect leader returned a short while ago. Today, they are bringing a group to Rivertown to annihilate the Dragon Sect. Big brother, don't kill me. Don't. Who would have expected Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi to still be alive? Furthermore, they allied together to annihilate my Dragon Sect. Great! Great! Wang Xian's face turned solemn, and the killing intent leaking from his body even solidified the surrounding atmosphere. That young man's expression turned as white as snow, and a pool of liquid dripped down from his pants. It seems like someone is courting his own death again. Wang Xian grumbled softly, and frenzied killing intent flashed across his eyes. If you guys dare to touch Xiao Yu and the rest, I'll send the entire underworld to hell to accompany them. Boom! A terrifying aura erupted and Wang Xian's figure disappeared towards the edges of the sky. Roving Sword followed closely behind. The young man that survived the ordeal stared in shock at the 2 disappearing men. His eyes widened and were filled with fear. That back view is so familiar. Could it be the Dragon King? He must be. He definitely is. The young man shouted loudly like a maniac. He looked beside him. A while ago, he had 2 other senior brothers. Now, he had no one with him. Nothing was left of them. That terrifying strength and that familiar back view had to be Dragon King's. Shit! He said if anything were to happen, he would send the entire underworld to hell. Following this, the young man took out his phone immediately and entered the Underworld website. Today, the Underworld was exceptionally lively. The return of the kings. Nia Wushuang together with Emperor Qi from Diabolism and several other sacred sects had reached an agreement to annihilate the Dragon Sect. Today, the Dragon Sect would definitely be annihilated. All those who were related to the Dragon King would also definitely be killed. Today was the first time the alliance of orthodox sects would work with Diabolism to eradicate the arrogant Dragon Sect. Now that the Dragon King was dead, the Dragon Sect should definitely be annihilated. Kill everyone from the Dragon Sect. Kill the kin of the Dragon King. Haha. Spare no one. The Dragon King from the Dragon Sect has killed countless experts from Diabolism. Today, we will let the Dragon Sect experience what is worse than death. Several threads were refreshed frantically on the Underworld website. All the martial artists in the Underworld were exhilarated. A few days earlier, the sect leader of Donghua Sacred Sect and Emperor Qi of Diabolism had returned. After their return, they announced instantly that the feud between the alliance of orthodox sects and Diabolism shall be forgiven. Donghua Sacred Sect and Devil Corpse Palace even announced that they would be merging into one eternal sacred sect. Countless incidents were shocking the entire underworld. 2 months ago, the Dragon King from the Dragon Sect and a swordsman fought with Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi. In the end, the 4 of them broke the sky and seemed to have entered a different world. A few days earlier, they returned officially to make shocking news. The alliance of orthodox sects and diabolism had put aside their feud, Donghua Sacred Sect merging with Devil Corpse Palace. Each of these incidents had shocked the entire underworld. This morning, they announced they would be annihilating the Dragon Sect. This matter instantly electrified various forces. The strength of the Dragon Sect was too terrifying. It was to the point that they were fearful of the Dragon Sect. Even when the Dragon King wasn't around, they were still frightened by the current Dragon Sect. Annihilating the Dragon Sect was what various sacred sects would like to see. The Dragon King is dead. Dragon Sect will definitely be annihilated. The young man saw the hottest thread. There were also a large number of replies in this thread. The thread clearly indicated that the Dragon King was dead and the Dragon Sect had lost the strength to retaliate. They would definitely be annihilated. The one who had started the thread even made it clear that it was sect leader Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi who personally claimed that the Dragon King was dead. Fuck! The Dragon King isn't dead. He's not fucking dead at all. Moreover, he's even more terrifying than before. I definitely have to inform other members of my sect now. The young man's expression turned solemn and he felt like his world was spinning. He immediately called several numbers. However, no one picked up the call. Could they be on their way to annihilate the Dragon Sect? The young man's face turned white and despair was creeping up on him. The Dragon King wasn't dead. If the Dragon Sect were to be annihilated, the underworld would be finished. This won't do. I've got to spread the news on the underworld and inform everyone that the Dragon King isn't dead. The young man started editing the thread before sending it to the underworld website. The Dragon King has returned. He's not dead yet. Moreover, he's even more terrifying than before. Although he had started the thread, there wasn't any interest. Even if there were comments, most people wouldn't believe it. The death of the Dragon King was confirmed by sect leader Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi. TSK. So what if he isn't dead? Even if the Dragon King were to show himself in Rivertown at this moment, he would have to die. At this moment, he was taken aback by a reply he saw. It was a link to another thread. Live streaming of the annihilation of the Dragon Sect. He clicked on the thread and browsed through quickly. When he saw the latest few replies, his face stiffened. The strongest experts that are leading the annihilation of the Dragon Sect aren't sect leader Nie Wuxuang or Emperor Qi. They are 4 old men who are far stronger than sect leader Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi. Even if the Dragon King is still alive, the Dragon Sect will definitely be annihilated this time. The Dragon King would also meet his end. 4 old men that are even more terrifying than sect leader? Those 4 old men! The young man was dumbfounded and frowned. He recalled the moment several days ago when he had caught a glimpse of the sect leader. Sect leader only allied with diabolism after he returned from that world. Could it be? There are 4 other characters that are even stronger than our sect leader. In other words, even if the Dragon King has the guts to return, he would also be killed. Haha! This is great. Perfect. Dragon King! How dare you kill my senior brothers? You shall die too. Sending the entire underworld to hell? You can head there yourself. Recalling the peaks and valleys of his life, the young man couldn't help but burst into laughter with a sinister grin. Chapter 621 Return of the Dragon King 2. Nie Wuxuang, Emperor Qi. Coldness filled the eyes of Wang Xian in the sky as he headed to Rivertown at a super rapid speed. 20 minutes. Xiao Yu, Shuqing, Qingwe, wait for me for another 20 minutes. Chillness welled in Wang Xian's eyes as he murmured softly to himself. At this time, Rivertown. On this day, all the attention of the underworld was on Rivertown, where sect leader Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi from Diabolism made a robust return. In particular, the two supreme experts returned in an alliance instead of fighting with each other. The moment they united, the Lord of the entire Underworld was formed. The sacred sect that they jointly formed was known as Eternal Sacred Sect. Dawnhua Sacred Sect and Devil Corpse Palace did not merge completely as Eternal Sacred Sect, but Eternal Sacred Sect consisted of these two sections. In other words, Dawnhua Sacred Sect and Devil Corpse Palace had become the sub-ancestral sects of Eternal Sacred Sect. Subsequently, Devil Spirit's Temple and the rest of the factions in Diabolism had joined the Eternal Sacred Sect. After that, Dongmen Clan, Dark Sect, Yuan Sacred Clan, and Heavenly Sound Sect joined the Eternal Sacred Sect too. With all the sacred sects joining hands, Eternal Sacred Sect was almost said to have unified the entire underworld. But none of the martial artists knew why Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi had established the Eternal Sacred Sect. They only knew that they were the future overlords of the underworld. This time, not only were the sacred sects within Eternal Sacred Sect here to annihilate the Dragon Sect, but there were various first-class forces from the underworld here too. Amongst which, the number of inborn experts was over 400. The rest that were below inborn level hit 6,000 people. Nearly half of the forces of the entire underworld were here. What a surprise! 2 of the confidants of the Dragon King have advanced to Budding Realm. At this moment, the crowd was packed around the floating island of Bohai, Rivertown. Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi were staring at the 2 girls with a surprised look. Ajaya and Lan Qinghua were pale as they spat out mouthfuls of fresh blood while staring daggers at Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi. Qinghua, Ajaya! Guan Shuqing and Xiaoyu lost color in their faces as they hurriedly rushed to their sides, wiping the blood from their lips with a bitter look. Are you all right? Guan Shuqing was looking worried all over as she quickly spun around and cast a cold glance at Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi. Wait till Xiao Xian gets back. He will not let you off for sure. Haha, the Dragon King? He's already dead. Did you think that he has a chance like our sect leader did? Standing beside Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi was the insolent Nia Wuya, chuckling. He swept his cold gaze at all of them. It's totally unexpected. Even 2 girls possess such daunting strength. The Dragon King must have obtained a fearsome legacy. Tell us now, and we'll grant you a quick death. Otherwise, you'll wish you were dead. Hayak! Beside Nia Wuya, a cold middle-aged man continued his words. He had a long tongue, which looked extremely horrifying. Who said my brother is dead? He's not. Wait till he's back, and none of you will be able to live. Xiaoyu stared furiously at the people in front of her as her cheeks became flushed with anger. Among them, Xiaoyu, Sun Linxiu, and Elder Fan could at most handle Dan realm experts. Guan Shuqing was slightly weaker. Only Ajaya and Lan Qinghua could match up to budding realm experts. In fact, Lan Qinghua was only at level 11. She could barely fight with a budding realm expert. As for Ajaya, she had just obtained a legacy not long ago. As such, she could only combat the average budding realm experts. On the other hand, Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi had been advanced to the budding realm for quite a long time. After they were rescued by the immortals and returned to the real world, they were given many elixir pills and a lot of spiritual equipment. Given their current strength, they were almost twice as strong as their initial strength during that battle. Ajaya and Lan Qinghua were trounced by these 2 people. This plunged Xiaoyu, Guan Shuqing, and the rest into despair. Even if Dragon King is not dead, and he arrives today, he is bound to die for killing the experts of Dawnhua Sacred Sect. Today, the Dragon Sect must be annihilated, Nia Wuya shouted with full confidence. Kill the rest of the disciples from Dragon Sect. Leave the sister of the Dragon King and his confidants to us. I'll make sure they spit out the truth. At this time, 2 elders in crimson robes were staring at Xiaoyu and the rest with one eye filled with crimson bugs. They were the leader and vice-leader of Crimson Bug. Ever since the Dragon King had annihilated all their disciples, they had been trying to seek revenge frantically. Today was their chance. They were going to pay back all the pain to the Dragon King's sister and confidants. I'll turn you people into the most miserable things in the underworld, and make you suffer utterly. Both of them growled, their eyes bloodshot. "Let the 6 girls live and kill the rest." Nia Wuya and Emperor Qi gave their commands as they held the weapons in their hands. "Yes." Surrounding them were Donghua Sacred Sect, Devil Corpse Palace, Heavenly Sound Sect, Dongmen Clan, and the various first-class forces with more than 400 inborn experts. All of them were casting their icy stares at those dragonians and golden swordfish on the floating island. 400 inborn experts against 200 of them was utter overkill. "Kill!" Mo Qinglong swept his gaze at all the sacred sects, sacred clans, and the experts. With a bellow, he commanded them. "Kill them all! Even if we die, our Dragon King will avenge us! Kill!" 50 Dragonians had no hesitation as domineering demonic aura surged around them. One by one, the golden swordfish emitted a dazzling radiance. "Kill!" The roaring of the killing sword in the sky while the war had completely broken out. "The real battle has begun, and the Dragon King will be a piece of dead meat." 400 inborn experts against 200 experts. They had double the numbers, and it would be a thrashing game. I did not expect that the 2 confidants of the Dragon King were actually budding realm experts. This is scary. The Dragon King must have inherited some domineering legacy such that Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi must lay their hands on it. This time, those confidants are doomed. Look at diabolism. All of them have cruel means. Perhaps they will turn them into corpses or even something worse than that. It's a good thing that we will annihilate the Dragon Sect. They are simply too powerful. I was scared when the 2 girls struck just now. They were daunting. Upon seeing the war break out, the surrounding disciples who were weak and not of any help in the battle were exchanging conversations with disbelief. Soon, this war would end with the downfall of Dragon Sect, as Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi were much stronger than before. The fact that the Dragon King of Dragon Sect was dead also sealed the fate of Dragon Sect. Chapter 622, Return of the Dragon King 3. At this very moment, the news of Nia Wushuang, Emperor Qi and other forces going to exterminate the Dragon Sect was spreading and updating constantly on the Underworld website. When the martial artists of the Underworld saw the terrifying strength of Ajaya and Lan Qingwei, they were astonished. For 2 girls to have the strength of supreme experts, the visual and psychological impact on them was immense. The Dragon King definitely obtained some peerless legacy. Otherwise, the Dragon Sect wouldn't have risen so rapidly. His girls wouldn't possess such terrifying strength either. This is really insane. If the Dragon King wasn't dead, the Underworld would be theirs in the future. I believe the annihilation of the Dragon Sect will likely allow many other sacred sects to heave a sigh of relief. On the Underworld website, various martial artists exchanged their views. For those sacred sects and clans that had not headed over to Rivertown, their attention was focused on the Underworld website as they waited for the news confirming the Dragon Sect being annihilated. Arg. Shit! The members of the Dragon Sect are really strong. Be careful! Be careful! Be careful! Just as the inborn experts from Donghua Sacred Sect and Devil Corpse Palace clashed with the 200 members of the Dragon Sect, terrifying charging swords and return swords attacked constantly. The group of golden swordfish killed over 20 inborn experts with their incredible swordsmanship. This stunned the inborn experts from Donghua Sacred Sect and Devil Corpse Palace as they growled loudly. Kill! At this moment, the Dragonians dragonified their arms into terrifying dragon claws to attack their enemies directly. They were fearless in the face of death. For the Dragon Sect and the Dragon King, they were willing to sacrifice their lives. At the most critical moments for the Dragon Sect, all the Dragonians unleashed aura that totally disregarded death. Those fearless attacks together with resilient defensive capabilities sent chills down the spines of the 400 inborn experts from Donghua Sacred Sect and Devil Corpse Palace. Ajaya, Qingwei! Get behind and rest! Guan Shuqing stood up and took a deep breath. Xiao Yu and Elder Fang, who were beside her, were equally pale. The holy goddess, Sun Lingxiu, resembled more of a goddess of frost at this very moment. Attack! Guan Shuqing gritted her teeth and waved the lotus truncheon in her hands. bunches of fire lotus flowers shot towards the enemies before her. Her attacks seemed limitless, and the terrifying attacks continued incessantly. The destructive force of her attacks astounded the crowd that was watching from afar. Judgment! A white light was emitted from Sun Lingxiu and shot across like rays of aurora beams. Beside her, Miracle Dr. Bloodman stared ahead bitterly as he tried his best to protect her master. Xiao Yu and Elder Fang didn't participate. They were more suited for close-range battles. At this juncture, they had chosen not to charge ahead and had their attention fixed on Emperor Qi and Nie Wuxuang. Around the 6 of them, 2 level 11 golden swordfish were protecting them. If we encounter real danger later, I'll activate the defense array within my truncheon, and we will escape together. Ajaya supported her own injured body and struggled to stand upright. Ajaya, we were wrong in the past. Let me apologize to you. If we can get past this calamity, we will be sisters. Lan Qingwei had also stood up by now and held Ajaya softly. In that case, you will have 2 more sisters. Ajaya laughed liberally as she looked at Sun Lingxiu beside her. Sister Lingxiu is great. Lan Qingwei smiled faintly. She's better than all of you. Ajaya was direct. She smiled before sighing. If I knew about this, I wouldn't have followed him here. Lan Qingwei chuckled and knew that Ajaya was just saying that in a fit of displeasure. That was entirely reasonable. A girl from a foreign country had followed him here. Yet she didn't even get to see him for the subsequent period. And she had to suffer their cold treatment. Ordinary girls wouldn't have taken such grievances, let alone the fact that she was a princess. I'm sorry, Lan Qingwei said apologetically. She turned to stare at Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi before saying, Let's stop the 2 of them together. There is still hope. That's right. Xiao Xian's subordinates are really strong. Ajaya looked across the entire battlefield and revealed a smile. The next instant, she turned and looked at Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi coldly. SSS. How could the dragon sect be so strong? Close to 40 or 50 inborn experts have died. However, it would seem that none from the dragon sect have died. Are you sure? How could the members of the dragon sect be so terrifying? It feels like they aren't even on the same fighting level. Even though we have 400 inborn experts on our side, it is not certain that we will be able to defeat the 200 members of the dragon sect. Scattered around the battlefield, the crowd was shocked while watching the battles unfolding before their eyes. The battle between 600 inborn experts was truly horrifying and astounding. Yet, after just a minute, they were horrified to see that the inborn experts on their side were killed rapidly. Even though they had twice the number of inborn experts, they were still on the losing end. If the battle continued as it was, the outcome wasn't certain yet. These disciples of Dragon Sect are really problematic. Seeing how the battle had developed, Emperor Qi remarked with a solemn face. Let's get into it and end the battle quickly. Ruthlessness flashed across the eyes of Nie Wuxuang. He waved the spiritual long sword in his hand and terrifying golden sword energy was launched ahead. Kill! Emperor Qi moved at the same time and attacked a golden swordfish. Now! Seeing that Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi had joined in the fight, Lan Qingwei and Ajaya gritted their teeth and headed towards both of them. Xiao Yu and Elder Fang followed behind resolutely, and the black skeletons on them started extending crazily. Both of you have just lost, and yet you dare to face us again. It seems like I have to cripple both of you completely this time. Nie Wuxuang remarked harshly when he saw Lan Qingwei and Ajaya charging towards him again. This time, we are here too. Xiao Yu growled. Without a tinge of fear, she lunged forward with the bone sword in her hand. TSK. Emperor Qi and Nie Wuxuang snorted and swung their spiritual equipment across. Bam! The spiritual equipment was stopped by Lan Qingwei and the other 3 girls, but they were pushed back. The dragon sect is truly pretty strong. They are able to reach the budding realm in this world that is experiencing the age of Dharma decline. Moreover, they are still so young. It would seem like they have inherited some incredibly powerful legacies. It would at least be a mortal class legacy. Otherwise, they would never have been able to reach such a level. Now that we have descended into the real world ahead of time, we might have a great chance encounter before us. The four old men stood by the side and silently watched the battle unfold. All of them had the vibes of being superior to others. When they saw Lan Qingwei and Ajaya, they were pleasantly surprised. Oh gosh! That young girl wasn't injured at all despite being hit by sect leader Nie Wuxuang. Shit! Sect leader Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi have been held back by the four of them while the 400 inborn experts are being slaughtered rapidly by the 200 members of the Dragon Sect. Could it be? The annihilation of the Dragon Sect will turn out to be. It can't be. This isn't possible. How could the disciples of the Dragon Sect be so powerful? Look at the fire attacks from that girl. She hasn't flinched for a moment at all. Her destructive might is too insane. If this goes on, the 400 inborn experts will be defeated. It can't be. How could it be possible that they can't annihilate the Dragon Sect with such a grand lineup considering that the Dragon King is already dead? Dragon Sect. How could they be so terrifying? The surrounding crowd could feel their hearts palpitating violently as they watched the battle before them with disbelief. 400 versus 200. Yet they were being killed rapidly. This had exceeded everyone's expectations. On the Underworld website, all the martial artists were astonished to witness what was on the live stream thread. No one had expected this to happen. Could it be that the annihilation mission of the Dragon Sect will end up in failure this time? Everyone could feel their hearts skip a beat. The Dragon Sect was too strong. Even when considering that the Dragon King had died, the two supreme experts of sect leader Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi, together with 400 inborn experts, still couldn't eradicate the Dragon Sect. That was horrifying. It was especially so for the swordsmen with golden long swords. Their attacks were so insane that the crowd could feel their scalps going numb from fear. A Dan Realm swordsman could even go against two Dan Realm experts, and still have the upper hand. What was most shocking was that Emperor Qi and sect leader Nie were held back temporarily, and couldn't join in the fight. Trash! It seems like we have to take action ourselves. At this moment, an old man, who had stood by the side with a sense of superiority, grumbled discontentedly. All right. Let's end this quickly so we can interrogate those girls about their legacies. In that case, let's end it. When the bald old man wearing a red suit finished his last word, the group of four old men flew ahead. This is the end. The four old men commented nonchalantly, and the aura around them strengthened instantly. Rumble. Terrifying fire pillars rose and shot up over 1,000 meters. The four flaming pillars altered the entire sky. The auras of the four old men were a lot stronger than Emperor Qi and Nie Wuxuang. You guys are really trash. It's just a small dragon sect, and yet you required us to step in, an old man commented plainly. He waved his arm and a wave of terrifying attacks swept towards the Dragonians and golden swordfish. Boom! Oh gosh! How terrifying! How terrifying! They... Behind them, all the martial artists in the underworld that witnessed this were completely dumbfounded. These auras were too strong. Despite being a distance away, they felt suffocated. Those four old men. SSS. Dragon Sect is definitely going to be annihilated now. Even if the Dragon King were around, the outcome wouldn't change. The 1,000-meter fire pillars were something that they thought would exist only at the end of the world. Considering the terrifying might, annihilating a Dragon Sect would be a walk in the park. In the opinions of these people, the annihilation of Dragon Sect would still be easy even if the Dragon King were around. Chapter 623 Return of the Dragon King 4. High and mighty. This was the first time the martial artists of the underworld had seen such a terrifying scene. It was also the first time they saw such scary power from the 9 Cauldrons worlds. The 1,000-meter fire pillars, daunting oppression, and the devastating scene. All the momentum and the oppression from it were not something Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi could compare to. The difference was huge. What? Oh no, they actually have such a formidable figure here. The gang, including Xiao Yu, Elder Fang, Lan Qingwei and Ajaya, who were desperately resisting, lost the color in their faces. Seeing such a domineering aura, a tinge of despair welled up in their eyes. Humph! Both Nia Wuxuang and Emperor Qi snorted as they swept their cold gazes across all the people in Dragon's Sect before they walked back. Boom! The eyes of the four elders were like torches with sparks skipping in their eyes when they looked at the battlefield. 200 Dragon's Sect disciples against more than 400 inborn experts from their side. However, more than 60 inborn experts had perished within a short period of time, leaving the total number to be less than 400. Humph! There was dissatisfaction in the eyes of an elder as he swung his arm, hurling a ball of fire toward the Dragon Sect disciples. Oh no, get out of the way now! Upon seeing the attack, Mo Qinglong's eyes were burning with fire. The ball of fire that the old man hurled with ease struck 100 meters away. A flaming waterfall-like ball of fire charged toward them directly. All the members of Dragon's Sect had a drastic change in their expressions. Block it down! They roared, raising golden sword defense and daunting dragon claws in front of them. Bam, bam, bam! But still, that fiery magma exploded like a waterfall in an instant, killing dozens of golden swordfish right at the front. Painful looks crawled upon their faces while their bodies slowly changed from human to golden swordfish, burning under the intense flame as they turned a charcoal black. A casual hit from that old man had brought down these forces of the Dragon Sect. Seeing more than a dozen Dragon Sect members lose their lives instantly, Mo Qinglong was aghast as he spun his head around. Noticing the gray branch was still giving off radiance on the floating island, he heaved a sigh of relief. Go on! Dragon King will be back to avenge us! Mo Qinglong growled with a hideous look. At this point, none of them could escape. Perhaps the Golden Swordfish clan could jump into the ocean for a way out, but they would not run. They were with the Dragon King of Dragon's Sect. Kill! The Dragonians and Golden Swordfish clan went berserk. Instantly, all their aura and vitality erupted completely, darting straight into the sky. Follow me. Charge! A level 11 Dan Realm expert from the Golden Swordfish clan remained expressionless. In the face of death, his eyes only held golden coldness. Sorrowless, joyless, selfless, invincible. Golden Swordfish. Pierce! Piercing through with their bodies was their natural instinct as Golden Swordfish clan. When they used to be fish, their most potent attack was to sprint. Even though they had learned swordsmanship, their piercing move remained their most potent attack. Piercing with their bodies. Buzz! One by one, the bodies of the Golden Swordfish suspended themselves in the air. As though they were in the ocean, they brought along their daunting radiance, charging at the 300-odd inborn experts right before them. They knew that attacking the four elders was utterly useless. Hence, they could only attack those at the same level as them. Humph! How dare you even try to strike before us? Seeing the Golden Swordfish clan readying their attacking stance, there was contempt in his eyes as he waved, calling, Karma Flame! Boom boom! As soon as the old man's voice resounded, the ground below the Golden Swordfish exploded into cracks. Scary flames sprouted out from underground, erupting into a blazing fire. This is crazy. Are they the legendary gods? Just a simple wave, and they could bring destruction to the world. It's not too far-fetched to say that they are the legendary immortals. Just a wave and they brought destruction to heaven and earth. With a swing, they could annihilate anything. They are the legendary immortals. I have a strange feeling about those four people. Sect leader Nia Wuxuang and Emperor Qi have been respectful to them. The newly established Eternal Sacred Sect is also led by the four of them. All the sect leaders of sacred sects have been very respectful to them. Could it be that they are from the other worlds? After sect leader Nia Wuxuang and Emperor Qi entered into another world, the four of them suddenly showed up beside them. All the surrounding crowd watched the four people with horror, as they discussed among themselves. An arm swing could change the world, and that impact was so scary, as though it was from the legendary immortal. In the face of these four elders, they felt as insignificant as ants. That bunch of Dragon Sect members is really fearless. They actually continued to charge forward. Gosh, the members of Dragon Sect have gone mad. But soon, they will be annihilated. All the people were horrified as they looked ahead in shock. Over there, more than hundreds of Dragon Sect members exuded golden radiance with a blazing fire, charging ahead ferociously. Their speed was so terrifying that even the experts of their same level were not able to resist. Oh no! Those inborn experts who felt relieved and were ready for a show were aghast upon seeing the dauntless Dragon Sect members. "Take cover!" they yelled loudly. However, the golden swordfish were bent on giving up their lives. Even when their bodies were shrouded with karma flame, their attacks did not stop. The four elders slightly grimaced when they saw the dauntless golden swordfish. Arg! All it took was 1 second for the golden swordfish to rush into the group of inborn experts. Despairing shrieks were heard instantly. Courting your own doom. Upon seeing their men being killed, coldness took over the faces of Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi as they wielded their long swords at the golden swordfish. Trying to attack? Ajaya saw the two of them launching their strikes as she raised her truncheon in her hand with an awful look. A vast lotus surfaced in front of her. With a size of a few hundred meters, the lotus was hurled at Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi. TSK, Level 13 Spiritual Equipment. Spiritual equipment used by an immortal. The four elders stared at her truncheon when Ajaya launched her attack. A glimmer of passion flashed across their eyes. Alas is ultimately alas. An elder scorned as he wielded the staff in his hand. The lotus that Ajaya released shook violently in the air. Subsequently, it vanished just like a firework. What? Ajaya paled immediately. She staggered back while Xiaoyu quickly held on to her. Bam, bam, bam! In that instant, Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi rushed into the golden swordfish. The long killing blade and the icy fist came smashing through the bodies of the golden swordfish. Chapter 624 Return of the Dragon King 5. It's over. It's definitely over now. The Dragon Sect is going to be annihilated now. It's finally over. The Dragon Sect is too strong. Even with the four old men with immortal-like strength, they still managed to kill over 100 inborn experts from our side. This is insane. TSK. The Dragon Sect would never have expected our side to have four immortal-like existences. With the four old men on our side, the Underworld will be eternal sacred sects in the future. Around the battlefield, martial artists that were below the inborn realm were shocked and exhilarated to see members of the Dragon Sect being killed one after another. After annihilating the Dragon Sect, they would be the rulers of the Underworld in the future. The battle had also caused a huge ruckus on the Underworld website. It was especially so for the terrifying strength of the four old men. The scenes of those 1,000-meter-tall fire pillars and the destruction of the mountains with a wave of their arms had made everyone feel they were exceptionally minuscule in this world. Even those from the sacred clans and sacred sects were astonished and fearful. Insane! Those four old men are too terrifying. Are they the immortals recorded in history? It seems like the entire Underworld will be eternal sacred sects after today. Haze! They aren't something we could possibly resist. After this battle, let's surrender to them. Their strength is probably equivalent to those powerful forces internationally. This is insane. The Underworld is going to be unified. Before the four old men, those so-called sacred sects are just ants that could be annihilated with a wave of their arms. It's not surprising that sect leader Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi are willing to surrender and join the eternal sacred sect. After this major battle, let's surrender to them too. Even if the Dragon King is still around, he's still going to be killed if he faces the four old men. There's nothing to change the current situation now. Just prepare to surrender. When all the forces of the Underworld witnessed what happened, they gasped in awe. All the forces had decided and prepared to surrender after this battle. This was because the strength displayed by the four old men wasn't something they could possibly hope to resist. I recall that some families in Rivertown are firm supporters of the Dragon Sect. In that case, let's annihilate those people to express our loyalty. Some first-class and second-class forces had made up their minds. The annihilation of the dragon sect had been cast in stone. Similarly, the unification of the underworld had also been cast in stone. At this moment, what they should do was get on the good books of Eternal Sacred Sect. In fact, it would be even better if they could join and become a subsidiary sect. Go! Several families moved rapidly. They wanted to express their loyalty and sincerity as much as they could before the dragon sect was annihilated. Bring these girls back for interrogation. The dragon sect had suffered catastrophic losses. Only 30 to 40 Dragonians remained standing on the floating island. An old man stood in the air and looked down on them with a sense of superiority. His eyes landed on Xiao Yu, Ajaya, Guan Shuqing, and the other 3 girls as he remarked with anticipation. Yes, Your Excellency. Leave them to us. The crowd from Diabolism revealed vile smiles as they stared at Xiao Yu and the other girls. Hee hee! The girls of the Dragon King! I'm getting excited at just the thought of it. A middle-aged man with a long tongue licked his lips as he walked towards the girls with contempt. Be careful of those 2 girls, an old man reminded. It's going to be fine. With Your Excellency here, we will be fine. The middle-aged man smiled. The 2 leaders from Crimson Bug grinned creepily as they stared at Xiao Yu and the girls. Capture us? Forget about it. You aren't going to capture us even if we die. Xiao Yu, Guan Shuqing and the other girls revealed determined looks. Get closer to me. Get ready. Ajaya held onto the truncheon in her hands tightly and spoke softly to Xiao Yu and the other girls. Xiao Yu, Elder Fang, Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingwei, and Sun Lingxue moved slowly towards Ajaya. We are going to have some fun ourselves after capturing them. Hee hee! The girls of the Dragon King! The middle-aged man with the long tongue made a weird sound before charging ahead. Kill! When Mo Qinglong and the remaining Dragonians saw them, they flapped their wings violently and charged towards them. Ants! Seeing that the Dragonians were still resisting, the truncheon in the hands of the old man glowed dazzlingly. A huge cage appeared in the sky and swooped down. SSS. Mo Qinglong and the other Dragonians lifted their heads and felt helpless. A futile struggle! When the surrounding crowd saw the flaming cage descending from the sky, they were deeply impressed and remarked excitedly. Let's go! Ajaya's hands shook when she saw the 4 old men attacking. Gradually, fresh blood flowed out from her arm and towards the truncheon. A ring of fire appeared and surrounded the 6 of them. Ajaya! Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingwei, and Sun Lingxue were flustered to see fresh blood gushing out from Ajaya's arm. Don't leave the defensive circle, Ajaya remarked with a pale face. She pulled a long face and continued. Go! The next instant, Ajaya spat a mouthful of fresh blood on the truncheon. The surrounding ring of fire started circulating at a terrifying speed. Huh! Escaping? When the 4 old men saw the actions of Ajaya, they smirked. Will we let you escape? Flaming cell! An old man lifted his truncheon and pointed in the direction that Ajaya and the rest were escaping towards. 1. A huge flaming cell appeared once again. Although it wasn't as powerful as the pyro cell, it still emitted heart-wrenching might. Move away! Guan Shuqing was infuriated. Her face was flushed as she raised the fire god Lotus truncheon and released scorching hot fireballs. However, the fireballs did not have much effect when they landed on the flaming cell. He won't be able to stop us, Ajaya remarked anxiously. The ring of fire turned even more rapidly and flew towards the sky. Bam! 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 When the ring of fire contacted the flaming cell, intense collisions gradually created cracks in the cell. If you could escape from the 4 of us, we would have lived our lives in vain. Ruthlessness flashed across the eyes of an old man when he saw the collapsing flaming cell. Heaven and earth! Flaming cell! Heaven and earth! Flaming cell! Beside the old man, the other 3 old men shouted. Streams of fire shot across the sky and formed an even more terrifying flaming cell. Ajaya was astonished to see the flaming cell from all directions. She spat another mouthful of fresh blood on her truncheon once again. Let me teach you all a lesson first. An old man waved his arm and a flaming long spear was thrown towards Ajaya at an incredible speed. Ajaya, who was manipulating the truncheon, was caught by surprise. Let me stop it! Guan Shuqing moved to stand before Ajaya instantly when she saw the approaching flaming long spear. No! Sister-in-law, you are too weak now. My defense is stronger. Xiao Yu wanted to push Guan Shuqing away. Xiao Yu, you are already injured. Leave this to me. I have the essence blood of a Suzaku. Perhaps I can reach Nirvana. Perhaps I can be reborn with even greater strength. Otherwise, it would be hard for us to escape this time. Guan Shuqing was resolute. Feeling the scorching hot attack, she grimaced and placed both arms before her. Futile attempt! Seeing Guan Shuqing trying to stop the attack, contempt flashed across the eyes of the four old men. The red flaming long spear easily pierced through Guan Shuqing's defense and penetrated her body. The girls around Guan Shuqing were filled with despair. Sun Lingxiu instantly injected streams of light energy into her body. Please! Let me reach the state of Nirvana! A teardrop flowed out of Guan Shuqing's eyes. Feeling the vitality leaving her body, she mumbled to herself. No! At this moment, a frenzied roar reverberated across. Chapter 625 Massacre of the Underworld 1. No! A frenzied roar reverberated across, shaking the entire earth. A figure was charging towards Guan Shuqing and the rest at a terrifying speed. Shuqing! The incoming person was none other than Wang Xian. He had flown to Rivertown at an ultra-fast speed, but he was still late. Fire shot out from his eyes as he stared at the chest of Guan Shuqing that had been pierced through. A cloud of terrifying killing intent surged in his heart as though a devil was going to break out of its shackles. Xiao Xian! Xiao Xian! Brother! Dragon King! Upon seeing the sudden appearance of Wang Xian, Xiao Yu, Lan Qingwei, Ajaya, Sun Lingxiu, and Elder Fang, who had lost all hope, immediately cried out in happiness. Xiao Xian, save Shuqing now! Now! Lan Qingyue's tears rolled down her cheeks immediately. The moment Wang Xian appeared, she could finally let down her toughness, and cried out sadly. Brother, check out sister-in-law Shuqing! Quick! Upon seeing Wang Xian, Xiao Yu finally had someone to rely on as she cried loudly. She will be all right. She will be all right. With bloodshot eyes, Wang Xian hugged Guan Shuqing as he mumbled. Seeing the Guan Shuqing's chest had been pierced through, Wang Xian's dragon energy rushed frantically into her body. With an arm swing, he popped some level 7 spiritual medicine into her mouth. Panic filled his face as he stared at Guan Shuqing. You'll be all right. Wang Xian was quivering slightly. Xiao Xian, you're back. That's great. I won't die. I can reach Nirvana and be reborn again. Seeing Wang Xian's return, Guan Shuqing squeezed out a smile as she whispered to him. No, rest assured. I will not let you die. Nobody can take you from me. Wang Xian touched the chest of Guan Shuqing, sensing her vitality vanishing within her body as she turned cold. Good to hear that. I don't want to leave you yet. I just want to rest. Rest. As Guan Shuqing said this, she closed her eyes. Wang Xian slowly shut his eyes as he sensed her weakening heartbeat. Dragon energy continued to stream into her body frantically. But that could hardly maintain her faltering heartbeat. This struck coldness into Wang Xian. Dragon King, it's the Dragon King. He's back. Gosh! Just then, the surrounding crowd began exclaiming in surprise. The crowd, including those in-born experts, were full of astonishment, with fear in their eyes the moment they saw Wang Xian hover over. Reputation was all that mattered. The terror that the Dragon King brought along with him was carved in their bones. Hence, the sudden appearance of the Dragon King struck horror on everyone's faces. Many martial artists involuntarily staggered back in trepidation. What's there to be afraid of? So what if the Dragon King arrived? Even if another Dragon King arrived, they would die today. At this time, the leader of the Crimson Bug of Diabolism yelled, staring coldly at Wang Xian, with eyes that surged with killing intent. That's right. So what if the Dragon King is here? He's here for his death. He's just in time. Today we will witness the slaying of the dragon. All the martial artists had come to this realization after the leader of the Crimson Bug shouted. They cast their gazes at the Dragon King, then back to the four elders. With them around, so what if the Dragon King was here? Even 2 Dragon Kings would die, let alone the one that was here. On the Underworld forum, everyone was horrified to see the appearance of the Dragon King. But soon, they relaxed again after seeing the oppressive four elders. Given such a situation, even the Dragon King would not be able to turn the tables around. The four elders were simply too daunting. Dragon King, I did not expect you would be still alive! Upon seeing the sudden appearance of Wang Xian, Nia Wushuang and Emperor Qi revealed a surprised look. They thought the Dragon King was dead. But it turned out otherwise. If not for that immortal from Yongchang World saving them, they might have perished. They did not expect that the Dragon King was such a lucky person. The Dragon King is tough. Emperor Qi stared coldly at Wang Xian and revealed a faint smile. Oh? This is that Dragon King? The four elders studied Wang Xian with curiosity. He, a famous figure in the real world. Dragon King, lucky you're not dead yet. Otherwise, we would be missing a talent in the real world. That would be a pity. Subsequently, the four elders chuckled and fixed their eyes on Wang Xian with ease. There was a taunting look in their eyes. The unparalleled talent in the real world to them was just a slightly more powerful ant. So what if his cultivation had advanced to budding realm? In terms of combat power, he was still far off. Not bad for a lad to reach this stage. Since he could also get his confidence to this stage, he must have obtained some scary legacy. Nice. Tell us about it, and we'll give you a quick death. An elder beamed at Wang Xian as he spoke. In his view, it was a surprising joy to see Wang Xian. How domineering. Nobody dared to speak to the Dragon King in the Underworld for very long. The ones who dared to do so are now dead men. However, I'm afraid it will not be the same again. They totally disregarded the Dragon King. However, the four godlike elders are fit to do so. Everyone was astonished by how the four elders spoke to Wang Xian in an overbearing manner. It used to be the Dragon King era. But now, it was coming to an end. It's great to have the Dragon King here, now that we can witness the dragon slaying. Everyone switched into a different mood as they fixed their eyes fervently. It was the slaying of dragon. That arrogant yet invincible Dragon King! Wang Xian overheard the conversation around him without any words. He lowered his head and wiped the blood from the corner of Guan Shuqing's lips. He stood up gently, carrying her body, looking at his sister. He turned and looked at Lan Qingwei, Sun Lingxiu, Ajaya, and Elder Fang. Wang Xian stretched out his hands and wiped their tears off their cheeks. I'm late. Wang Xian stared at the pale-looking girls with heartache. He took out elixir pills and fed them to them. No, Xiao Xian. You're not late. Lan Qingyue's eyes were red as she could not help but cry again. Glad that you're here. Ajaya felt a load off her shoulders as she curved her lips, revealing a goddess-like smile. Over to you, Xiao Xian. Sun Lingxiu, as usual, believed in Wang Xian as she spoke to him. Wang Xian smiled at them and spun around slowly. Instantly, his face became utterly cold. As though the winter had come, with the devil descending upon earth. He swept his gaze across the bodies of the Dragonians and golden swordfish with boiling murderous intent within him. Chapter 626 Massacre of the Underworld 2. Only 2 level 11 swordfish remained from the golden swordfish race. As for Dragonians, 31 survived. Catastrophic losses. Out of 200 members of the dragon sect, less than 1/5 remained. Wang Xian took a deep breath, looked across everyone and said emotionlessly, I'm back! I'm back! The 4 cold words entered the ears of the 5 to 6,000 people present. You are just in time to be buried with your dragon sect and the rest. Nie Wushwang stared harshly at Wang Xian upon hearing him. The Dragon King had killed over 10 inborn experts from his Donghua sacred sect and overwhelmed the Donghua sacred sect with strength. He had long wanted to kill him. Haha! Dragon King! You are just in time. Today, my crimson bug can finally have its revenge. Let me tell you this. After your death, I will ruthlessly torture your girls. I'll let my bugs crawl into their bodies. I'll let them experience something worse than death. Ha! The 2 leaders of Crimson Bug laughed hysterically, and their eyes were beaming with bloodlust. Ha ha! Dragon King, you have killed the attendants and elders of my Donghua sacred sect. Today will be the day you die. Nie Wuya also stared at Wang Xian with ecstasy. His face was contorted as he laughed hysterically. Slay the dragon! Slay the dragon! So what if you are back? Ha ha! We are going to slay the dragon! At this moment, the surrounding crowd of martial artists faced Wang Xian without fear. At this moment, they were completely fearless towards the Dragon King that had once instilled complete fear in them. They were unusually excited about torturing and killing a supreme expert. All of you will die. All those families and forces that participated today will never have another day of peace. Wang Xian looked at the crowd before him. Gradually, the anger in his eyes dissipated and was replaced with apathy. Cold and nonchalant apathy. Ha ha! The Dragon King still isn't aware of what the situation is. He's still not aware of what kinds of existences he is facing. That's right. If the Dragon King knew about the terrifying strength of the 4 old men, I wonder if he would dare to be so arrogant and brazen. I would love to see how the Dragon King is crushed easily onto the ground. When the martial artists heard Wang Xian, their faces were filled with contempt. Brat, I really hate your arrogance. Among the 4 old men, the old man standing in the middle extended his arm. It's going to start. That terrifying old man is going to strike. When the surrounding crowd saw the actions of the old man, they were instantly exhilarated. Fire grips strangulation. The old man lifted his arm and was wearing a fiery red glove. The next instant, a palm that spanned a dozen-odd meters grabbed towards Wang Xian. You guys must be from Yongchang Immortal Sect. If Shu Qing is in any form of danger, I'll send your entire Yongchang Immortal Sect to hell to accompany her. Wang Xian stared at the 4 old men and commented plainly, as though he was saying something ordinary. Huh! The 4 old men were astonished to hear what Wang Xian said. Their faces turned solemn instantly as they remarked. Arrogant brat! This old man here will slaughter you! The old man lowered his arm and that huge 10-meter palm, that was seemingly made of lava, pressed towards Wang Xian. Ha ha! When I, the Dragon King, slaughtered 100 men in Yongchang Immortal Sect, your Hong Yen Excellency didn't even dare to say a word. What are you guys? Bloodthirst gleamed in Wang Xian's eyes as he lifted his arms slightly. Boom! That giant flaming palm that was pressing down towards Wang Xian collapsed instantly into streams of water. I have made up my mind to massacre this underworld. Wang Xian lifted both of his arms. What? When the 4 old men saw the flaming palm collapsing, their expressions changed drastically. Their hearts had already skipped a beat when they heard Wang Xian mentioning Hong Yen. How can this be possible? Brat, how dare you call our sect leader by his name and make such brazen claims? An old man was infuriated and dense flames rose from his body. At this moment, he was just like a terrifying volcano. However, before he could finish his words, sounds of water flowing could be heard. What? Gosh! What is that? Suddenly, to the horror of the martial artists around, they noticed that the surrounding seawater was rising. They were in the middle of the sea initially. At this moment, the surrounding seawater was raised. It reached a height of over 1,000 meters rapidly, and surrounded everyone. From today onwards, my dragon sect will massacre the underworld. Everyone and anyone who participated in this matter will never have another day of peace. Wang Xian looked plainly across the astonished 5,000 to 6,000 people. Horrifying seawater swept towards them like a giant waterfall. What? No. No. How can this be possible? This attack. How can this be possible? With Wang Xian at the center, the radius of several thousands of meters was surrounded by a wall of water that was several thousand meters tall. The terrifying scene was just like what an immortal was capable of. No. He's even stronger than immortals. Just a while ago, they thought that the might the 4 old men had displayed was sufficiently shocking. At this moment, compared to the might the Dragon King displayed, it was like comparing a drizzle to a downpour. The terrifying scene shrouded a radius of 5 to 6 kilometers. What was the meaning of this? Shit! How could he have such terrifying destructive forces? The 4 old men were astonished and weren't showing any traces of the composure they had previously. Feeling the terrifying water energy around them, their minds and hearts were shaken to the core. This can't be real! What he said can't be real! This is impossible! An immortal level attack! This definitely cannot be possible! The 4 old men roared. They flexed their bodies and terrifying flames shot through the clouds. Boom! However, a terrifying stream of water smashed onto them directly. Everyone was staring at the 4 old men anxiously and watching them resisting the streams of water. Their foreheads were filled with perspiration and eyes were filled with fear. Dang! The water streams coalesced into water swords that were over 1,000 meters in size before falling from the sky. They clashed with the flames, making sizzling sounds. However, the water energy in the atmosphere was too overwhelming. The flames were rapidly extinguished. Boom! No! No! The 4 old men were flabbergasted as they struggled to keep the flames around them to resist the water swords. I won't let you guys die so easily! Wang Xian stared at them before looking across the crowd. His voice was that of a devil to the crowd. When the surrounding martial artists saw the 4 old men incapable of withstanding a single strike from Wang Xian, the despair on their faces was magnified countless times. The seemingly immortal-like 4 old men in their eyes couldn't even withstand a strike from the Dragon King. Not even a single strike. How great were the differences in strength. Boom! At this moment, they felt like they were shrouded in seawater instantly. They didn't even have the strength to put up any resistance. The seawater had even shrouded Nie Wuxuang and Emperor Qi. Both of them widened their eyes, which were filled with utter disbelief. Arg! The seawater is heating up! Arg! I can't take this! Screams of horrors resounded as the gate to hell was opened. Chapter 627 Massacre of the Underworld 3. No! We can't defend it. We have no resistance against it. Fear and despair. Arg, it's the boiling water. How can it hit such a daunting temperature? The world seemed to have come to an end when the surrounding crowd heard the shrieks from the 4 elders. Their end had arrived. Sensing their bodies being boiled over by the seething water, they knew that the Dragon King was turning this place into a living hell. They would be tortured to death. No, I don't want to die. Dragon King, it's my fault. But it's all because of Donghua's sacred sect and Devil Corpse Palace. They were the ones. Fear crawled upon the faces of several martial artists as they tried to struggle out, but their efforts were in vain. Arg! Nie Wuxuang let out a bellow as he exuded domineering golden radiance. Yet, the golden radiance was unable to get him out of the water region. The same went for Emperor Qi. All of them, including the 4 elders, were in the same situation. Immortal realm. You have advanced to the immortal realm. How is that possible? Sensing the pain coming from their bodies, the 4 elders shouted at Wang Xian in consternation. Recalling what Wang Xian just said, they were certain about it. Their expressions sank into despair. Enjoy the arrival of death! Looking nonchalant, Wang Xian swept his gaze across everyone before he turned and walked toward the Dragonians. Dragon King! Upon seeing the arrival of Wang Xian, Mo Qilong knelt down along with the rest of the Dragonians. Take it! Wang Xian gave a simple nod and tossed a level 5 elixir pill to each of them. He looked around at the bodies on the ground. Dragon King, they should be able to be resurrected, Mo Qinglong said respectfully when he saw Wang Xian scanning around. Wang Xian remained quiet as he looked at him. Dragon King, this is the soul returning branch that I got from the Dragon Palace. Mo Qinglong pointed to a grayish branch in the middle of the floating island as he spoke. Her? As Wang Xian looked at the glowing branch, a hint of unexpected joy flashed in his eyes. When Ye Wuxuang and Emperor Qi returned a few days ago, I was afraid they might be up to no good. Hence, I went back to the Dragon Palace. Initially, I wanted some of the members from the Dragon Palace to follow me back. But I can't command them, and they ignored me. Prime Minister Turtle said the Dragon Palace needed guards, and none of them could leave without your orders. But he gave me a soul-returning branch and said this would help us tide ourselves over in resisting crisis when in danger. Mo Qinglong accounted to Wang Xian respectfully. It was a thoughtful idea from Prime Minister Turtle. Wang Xian looked satisfied with it. Mo Qinglong had wanted some of the members from Dragon Palace to be present here, but Prime Minister Turtle and the rest would definitely ignore Mo Qinglong, as no one else could command them except himself. But luckily, Prime Minister Turtle was being thoughtful by getting Mo Qinglong to bring forth a soul-returning branch. Otherwise, their loss would have been rather huge. Roving Sword! Wang Xian shouted to Roving Sword. Yes! Roving Sword walked over immediately as he lowered his head in respect. Old Mo, inform Omniscient Group. Those who were involved in attacking my family, our sect, kill them all. No matter how many forces have participated in this, no one stays alive, said Wang Xian coldly. Roving Sword, you'll follow them. Yes, Dragon King. Frantic killing intent surged within the eyes of Mo Qinglong and the rest of the Dragonians. Even Roving Sword held his fist tight with golden radiance flickering in his eyes. This time, there were only 2 of the Golden Swordfish clan left. As the leader of the clan, he had to slay all the enemies. You guys provoked me first. Don't blame me for being cruel. This time, I'll massacre the entire underworld. Wang Xian slowly turned around and surveyed his surroundings. At this time, it had become a living hell. Despairing screams and agonized shrieks were ringing in his ears non-stop. Dragon King, you'll die horribly. Ye Wuxuang, Emperor Qi, and the rest of the experts from Sacred Sects and Sacred Clan growled ferociously with trepidation on their faces when they heard Wang Xian. Dragon King is going to annihilate clans and sects. This time, it's a complete wipeout. This struck desperate rage and immense fear into all of them. What awaited their loved ones and friends would be the insane revenge of Dragon Sect. You guys did the same thing to my Dragon Sect. I'm just paying you back. Upon hearing their despairing screams, Wang Xian let out a clap of cold laughter. Go to hell and make your confession. Arg. No, please let my family go. No. Dragon King, I was wrong. I beg you, please. All of them panicked and shivered in their boots. However, Wang Xian remained unwavering. If he had not arrived today, all the people in Dragon Sect would have been killed. They would not have let off his loved ones and friends. So why should he let them off? Do it now! Wang Xian commanded Mo Qinglong and Roving Sword coldly. Yes! Dragonians and Roving Sword responded loudly. Roving Sword swung his arm and supported their bodies with a long sword. Then they disappeared at a daunting speed. Send the information of those forces and enemies who participated in besieging us. We are going to pay them back. After hovering out of the Scary Sea region, Mo Qinglong contacted a Dragonian in the Omniscient Group right away. As of now, the biggest intel group, Omniscient Group, was under the control of Dragon Sect. Obtaining information was a piece of cake. Yes. Currently, there are 3 first-class forces and 2 second-class forces in Rivertown. They posted that they will be off to kill those families that befriended the Dragon King. The forces who participated in besieging us are Donghua Sacred Sect, Devil Corpse Palace, Devil Spirits Temple, Dongmen Clan Dark Sect. On the Underworld Forum, Those forces who supported in annihilating Dragon Sect are Qintian Sect from Gu City, Hua and Han family of Modu. Soon, Mo Qinglong got hold of all the information. While Omniscient Group was running at full force, Roving Sword began the massacre with 31 Dragonians at a domineering speed. However, the live update on the Underworld forum had not been updated for more than 10 minutes. Today, 99% of the martial artists who were not present in Rivertown were staring at the live update on the forum. All the martial artists of the Underworld were surprised to see that the live update had stopped updating for more than 10 minutes. What's going on? Update it now! Didn't Dragon King arrive? What is happening? Was the Dragon King killed? Quick, show us the dead body of the Dragon King. It has been more than 10 minutes, why aren't there any updates? TSK, could it be that the Dragon King has been killed and now they are trying to clean up the scene? Why is the update so slow? Update now. Otherwise, I'll curse you for being killed by the Dragon King. After more than 10 minutes of silence, all the martial artists in the Underworld were anxious about it. What's going on? Post the pictures of the Dragon King getting killed now. Chapter 628, Blood Flowing 8,000 Miles, 1. All the martial artists were staring anxiously at the Underworld website for updates from Rivertown. However, half an hour passed by quickly and there wasn't any news updated on the Underworld website. What's the matter? What's the situation now? Even if the Dragon King has arrived, all the matters should have been settled by now. Why isn't the thread being updated? Could it be that the original poster was killed? Some martial artists stared at the Underworld website and felt that something wasn't right. A bad premonition started weighing over their minds. As for the families and members of Donghua Sacred Sect, Devil Corpse Palace, Dark Sect, and some other sacred clans and sacred sects, they hesitated for a moment before attempting to make calls. However, none of them got any responses. This undoubtedly made them feel that something bad had happened. However, they shook their heads violently soon. It's impossible. It cannot be. Sect leader Nie Wushuang and Emperor Qi were so strong. More importantly, there were 4 other immortal-like old men with them. They had witnessed how terrifying these 4 old men were. Each action of theirs could bring forth catastrophic destruction. Existences like these weren't something that the Dragon King could handle. Time passed by gradually. At this very moment, Shui family of Rivertown was one of the top ancient martial arts families in Rivertown. Due to their relations with the Dragon King, no one in the Underworld would dare to offend the Shui family. Within the backyard of Shui family's villa, old Shui lay on the floor and was coughing out blood. Shui Jiahua and Shui Jing were also on the floor with pale faces. The 3 generations glowered furiously at the group of people before the door, and their eyes were filled with despair. TSK. The Shui family sure is weak and small. The only thing you could blame would be following the wrong master and forces. Since you are on great terms with the Dragon King, you guys can meet him in hell. In the middle of the courtyard, a group of 20+ martial artists stared harshly at the Shui family. All of them had hideous and gruesome looks on them. Cough, cough. Our Shui family is contented to have enjoyed the glory days. Old Shui smiled bitterly and had seemingly accepted his impending death. The Dragon King was killed and the Dragon Sect was annihilated. To show their loyalty to the Eternal Sacred Sect, this group of people before them wanted to annihilate his Shui family. He looked at his son and grandson beside him. Although he was bitter, he heaved a long sigh. Grandpa, there's nothing to fear about death. After all, we have enjoyed the glory days. Hee hee. It's been worthwhile. Shui Jing grinned at his grandpa before turning to stare coldly at the group of people before them. If the Dragon King can make it past this disaster, he will definitely take revenge for us. All of you will suffer gruesome deaths. Ha ha. Dragon King? He's dead by now. Before the 4 immortal-like experts, he has probably been reduced to dust by now. You can show your loyalty in hell. Ha ha. In the future, there'll no longer be any Dragon Sect or Dragon King in the Underworld. An old man standing in the middle laughed hysterically at them. Today, we will grant you a quick death. Go join your Dragon King in hell. Ha ha. Hysterical laughter resounded in the backyard of the Shui family. 3 middle-aged men smirked and walked towards the 3 generations of the Shui family with their long swords. There's nothing to fear about death. Old Shui gritted his teeth, shut his mouth, and then shouted. Hee hee! In that case, die! The 3 middle-aged men swung their swords towards them. Bam! 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 The 3 generations of the Shui family closed their eyes in despair as they waited for death to descend upon them. However, all they heard were sounds of things falling to the ground. The pain, which they had expected, did not come. This shocked the 3 generations of the Shui family. The dragon sect would not let the friends of our Dragon King die. A faint voice reverberated and old Shui jerked opened his eyes. He saw over 30 people in the air. After a brief moment of feeling lost, excitement beamed in his eyes. Old M.O. you guys! Old Shui's body shivered in agitation as his eyes beamed with fervor. Our Dragon King shall shine forever like the sun and moon. Those who offend the Dragon King or the Dragon Sect shall all die. M.O. Qinglong nodded his head at old Shui. Following which, he got back onto the golden long sword and flew away. Dragon King! The Dragon King isn't dead! The Dragon King isn't dead! Shui Jiahua and Shui Jiahua opened their eyes and saw the disappearing crowd of Dragonians. When they saw the 20-odd people who were still going on about killing them moments ago on the floor, exhilaration was written all over their eyes. If the Dragon King isn't dead then... Old Shui stood up gradually and his eyes beamed with fervor. Nye Wushuang from Donghua Sacred Sect, Emperor Qi of Diabolism and the 4 old men were finished. They definitely have been killed by the Dragon King. Shui Jing continued the sentence for his grandfather. His face was flush red from excitement as he cheered. Ha ha! Great! This is perfect! Shui family, who had been in despair moments ago, were in ecstasy after surviving the ordeal. Let me check the information on the Underworld website. Shui Jing took out his phone immediately. There isn't any news on the Underworld website yet, and the live stream broadcast stopped after the Dragon King appeared. It seems like they were all killed. Let's just wait for news from here onwards. Old Shui's eyes flickered. From here onwards, they will be awaiting the anger of the Dragon King. The anger of the Dragon King. Old Shui knew Wang Xian well. He was a friend who valued relationships. If he was your enemy, he definitely wouldn't show mercy or compassion. On the Underworld website, it had been an hour since the last update on the return of the Dragon King appeared on the live stream thread. The more time that passed, the more flustered some people felt. It was especially so when no one could contact the experts who had gone to annihilate the Dragon Sect. Unconsciously, everyone had a bad premonition about the incident. Shocking! Donghua Sacred Sect has been annihilated. Not a single disciple remains. 1 hour and 5 minutes later, a thread appeared on the Underworld website and sent shockwaves throughout the Underworld. When everyone clicked into the thread, they were instantly dumbfounded. Blood and destruction represented the current Donghua Sacred Sect. Those pictures of corpses made everyone feel as if their scalps were going numb. Fear that originated from one's soul spread across their entire body. The pictures on the thread were all pictures of the corpses of Donghua Sacred Sect's disciples. Moreover, these corpses could be found throughout the entire Donghua Sacred Sect. The original poster was a friend of an attendant of Donghua Sacred Sect. 10 minutes before, he had headed to Donghua Sacred Sect and witnessed a horrifying scene. Donghua Sacred Sect was annihilated. Gosh! What happened? Who did it? Donghua Sacred Sect was annihilated. Everyone in the number 1 sacred sect of the Underworld has now been slaughtered. Gosh! Who's the one responsible? What happened? Why would Donghua Sacred Sect be annihilated? Looking at the pictures on the thread, everyone shivered in fear. The largest sacred sect in the Underworld had been annihilated without a single person surviving. Could it be the acts of the Dragon King and the Dragon Sect? Some people's eyes widened. At the thought that no news was coming from Rivertown, a terrifying thought surfaced in their minds. Chapter 629, Blood Flowing 8,000 Miles, 2. Donghua Sacred Sect was annihilated with no one left in the ancestral sect. When the news got out, the entire underworld was blown away. Soon, some of them guessed that Donghua Sacred Sect had been annihilated by Dragon King and Dragon Sect. That was because everyone lost touch with Rivertown after the Dragon King's return. They made a bold speculation that those who tried to annihilate Dragon Sect had all been killed by Dragon King. Boom! Gosh! Devil Corpse Palace is being annihilated! Just as everyone was still overwhelmed by the fact that Donghua Sacred Sect had been annihilated, another shocking piece of news came by. Devil Corpse Palace, the strongest ancestral sect of diabolism, was annihilated. SSS. When the news was out, everyone drew in a cold breath. Devil Corpse Palace was not any weaker than Donghua Sacred Sect. Yet, it was exterminated too. On the same post were various photos with the corpses of the Devil Corpse Palace disciples. None of them were alive. The entire Devil Corpse Palace was quiet as hell. It must be the Dragon King. It must be him. He's the only one who could annihilate Donghua Sacred Sect and Devil Corpse Palace. The Dragon King is not dead. He's annihilating all those who besieged the Dragon Sect. I had a bad feeling ever since that live update stopped updating. The Dragon King is not dead, and it looks like Dragon Sect has begun taking their revenge. Within an hour, the strongest sacred sect of the orthodox sects and diabolism were annihilated. This is too fast and furious. Scary! The downfall of Devil Corpse Palace had made everyone believe that the Dragon King was not dead, and that Dragon Sect had not been exterminated. On the contrary, those who besieged Dragon Sect were all gone by now. This shocked everyone. With the downfall of Donghua Sacred Sect and Devil Corpse Palace, the revenge of the Dragon King has begun. I'm afraid those forces that participated in the siege are finished. The forces who participated account for 60% of the families and sacred sects from the orthodox sects and diabolism in the underworld. Can the Dragon King take revenge on them one by one? In less than 20 minutes, their speculation was answered. Devil Spirit's Temple of Diabolism was annihilated. Half an hour later, Dark Sect was annihilated. An hour later, Heavenly Sound Sect was annihilated. An hour and a half later, Dongmen Clan was annihilated. In just 2 hours, news of the various sacred sects and clans being annihilated kept coming. This time, no one in the sects lived. The entire underworld was plunged into silence when they saw the messages uploaded onto the forum. Soon after, some of the people became frightened as their families and ancestral sects had participated in the siege. This struck an immense terror into them. Quick, disperse, everyone. All of you, find a place to hide. Those who can leave the country, leave now. Back in Han family in Modu, all the family members revealed a frightful look when they read the news of the downfall of various sacred sects and clans. It was to their ultimate surprise that the siege of Dragon Sect had actually failed. They knew very well of the Four Elders' strength. If such domineering existences failed, Han family was nothing to them. Fear crept into them. Without any hesitation, the family head of Han family ordered them to run as far as they could. Do you think you can escape? At this time, Roving Sword and members of Dragon Sect appeared in the air within the huge villa of the Han family. They were glowering at the Han family, who was freaking out. What? How did they make it here so fast? When the members of the Han family heard Mo Qinglong, they craned up and yelled in quivering voices. No, please! Don't kill us! We surrender! Don't kill us! When the family head of Han family saw the disciples of Dragon Sect in the air, he was utterly devastated as he fell to his knees, begging for mercy. Kill! The cold voice took away all the hopes of the Han family as all of them fell into despair. Let's go! No one in the Han family was alive 3 minutes later. Roving Sword led Mo Qinglong and the rest to their next destination. Given Roving Sword's speed, it would at most take him 1 hour to fly from the farthest point east to the farthest point west in the country. Due to their daunting speed, the families and ancestral sects were annihilated before they could even react. No one left alive. When the group of forces besieged the dragon sect, trying to kill the Shui family, they did not intend to leave anyone alive. Hence, Amo Qinglong and the gang would not go soft on them. None of them could stay alive in this massacre. Han family was annihilated. Lu family was annihilated. News of the ancestral sects and families quickly filled up the entire Underworld forum. The entire Underworld went into complete silence while all the ancestral sects and families gasped. At this moment, the world seemed to have quieted down. All the martial artists grew numb with the messages that they read. They were just staring blankly with all the forces having been wiped out. Once the Dragon King rages, blood flows for 1,000 miles. Almost 60% of the families and ancestral sects in the Underworld had participated in the siege of Dragon Sect. Yet these forces were reduced at a daunting speed. Finally, someone on the forum confirmed that the one behind this was Dragon Sect at 8 p.m. Although the news did not create much of a ruckus in the forum, everyone was still stunned by it. How strong is the Dragon King? And how strong is the Dragon Sect? The 4 elders were already domineering, just like immortals. Yet they were still killed by the Dragon King. Tonight was a sleepless night for the Underworld. Hours passed and dawn broke. The sun rose into the sky. As time passed, the sun set and the moon was hanging in the sky. Over 30 hours had passed. All the martial artists in the Underworld were reduced by 60%. None of those forces that participated in the siege survived. No one escaped. Not even those families and ancestral sects who received news early. Dragon Sect spent 15 hours wiping out all the ancestral sects and families, and another 10 odd hours to round up those who tried to escape. Gosh, the Underworld is down by 60% of its martial artists. Once the Dragon King rages, blood flows for 1,000 miles. Everyone will pay respect to Dragon Sect. Anyone who offends them will die. New posts began to surface in the forum. But the martial artists could clearly sense the significant loss in the active members of the Underworld. All in all, there were over hundreds of thousands of martial artists in the Underworld. But now, not even half were left. The thought of the numbers terrified everyone. Dragon King signifies a taboo in the future. Some of the forces and families exclaimed to themselves. Trepidation and fear. From now on, no one in the Underworld would ever speak ill of the Dragon King. The future of the Underworld would definitely settle down. All the families and forces would pass down instructions to their children and disciples that they must address the Dragon King as the king. Chapter 630, Boundless Branch and Nirvana. Haze. In a luxurious villa of Gui Province, a girl heaved a sigh of relief. A zither lay before her. As she saw over 30 disciples of the Dragon Sect with terrifying aura leave, she felt lost. Daughter, it's great that you avoided this catastrophe. Luckily, you know the Dragon King. Beside her, the richest man in Gui Province, Tang Jiuqiao, wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead as he spoke with a shaky voice. Heavenly Sound Sect has been annihilated. Tang Yinxian looked at the zither in her hands with complicated feelings. Sorrows were written over her face. Survival of the fittest. Yinxian tried to let this go. Tang Jiuqiao paused for a moment before saying, The Heavenly Sound Sect participated in the annihilation of the Dragon Sect. Now that the Dragon King is back, it's only natural that he administers the same treatment to his enemies. It's all about the survival of the fittest. Luckily, you did not participate in it. They probably let you off because you weren't involved much in it, and that middle-aged man knew you. Tang Yinxian smiled bitterly. She shook her head slowly and played a sorrowful piece. While Roving Sword led the Dragonians to take revenge, Wang Xian brought Xiao Yu and the other girls, together with all the corpses, towards the Dragon Palace on the yacht. Xiao Xian, how is Xuqing now? When they saw Wang Xian walk out of Guan Xuqing's room, the girls crowded over immediately and asked about her caringly. I'll definitely revive her. Wang Xian took a deep breath, forced out a smile and spoke to them. Shuqing's injuries were more severe than he had expected. The flaming long spear had penetrated her heart. If he had not arrived in time to preserve her heart with the powerful dragon energy, Shuqing might have been dead by now. Having the bloodline of the Suzaku definitely helped too. However, her conditions weren't optimistic despite all that. Wang Xian found it extremely hard to fully resuscitate her. Nonetheless, Wang Xian had the confidence that he would be able to do so given time. "Brother, you've got to save sister-in-law!" Xiao Yu held Wang Xian's arms and said to him. "Yeah. Rest assured." Wang Xian caressed Xiao Yu's head and said, "This time, I've failed to protect all of you. We can't always be depending on you to protect us." Lan Qingwei looked at Wang Xian and mumbled. She had inherited the most elite bloodline in this universe and possessed the strongest Kun breeding ability in the universe. However, due to her lack of practice in cultivation, she was quite weak. If she had cultivated diligently, she would have been able to handle a crisis like this alone. "It's all my fault. If only I had cultivated diligently. Qingwei, it is I who have failed to protect all of you." Wang Xian extended his arm over her waist and spoke softly. "This will never happen again." As he spoke, he looked to Sun Lingxiu and Ajaya and forced a smile. "Xiao Xian, Sister Lingxiu and Sister Ajaya are really nice. It's all thanks to them that we survived this time, and we have gotten along really well." Lan Qingwei collected her emotions, held Wang Xian's arms and spoke with a heartwarming voice. It was only through hardship that relationships are built and strengthened. For the 6 girls, they had only survived this incident by fighting with their lives on the line for one another. Ajaya, who they had resisted all along, did not take a step back. Sun Lingxiu, who had been giving silently, did not take a step back. They had truly moved Lan Qingwei and Guan Shuqing through their actions. It was a great thing to have sisters who they could go through hardships together with. Therefore, when they fought with their lives together, Lan Qingwei and Guan Shuqing had put aside some obsessions they'd held. Wang Xian was taken aback when he first heard Lan Qingwei. He smiled soon after, reached out both of his arms and held the 2 girls in his embrace. Ajaya and Sun Lingxiu stiffened up but showed a smile soon after. "Hee hee! Great! When sister-in-law Shuqing recovers, everything will be perfect." Xiao Yu was happy to see this as she wrapped her arms around her masters. "Xiao Xian, where are we going?" Ajaya stared at Wang Xian and asked curiously. "You will know once we are there. Don't be surprised then." Ajaya turned to Wang Xian and smiled. Whoosh! At this moment, a water pillar that extended over 100 meters into the sky appeared. A humongous creature was swimming towards them. The creature in the water was roughly 50 meters in size and was swimming towards them at a terrifying speed. "What's that monster?" Ajaya was astonished and stared vigilantly into the sea. "Don't be afraid. That's Xiao Lan." Lan Qingwei came to the deck. The Kun, which Lan Qingwei had bred from a blue whale, surfaced from the water and revealed its humongous body. Xiao Lan had now grown to over 50 meters. Soon, it would be able to advance to level 12. "Let's go. We will dive down." Wang Xian stopped the yacht, picked up Guan Shuqing and spoke to the girls. Ajaya followed Wang Xian to the deck with curiosity and jumped into the sea soon after. As she dived into the sea and saw the majestic dragon palace, her eyes widened and she clearly couldn't believe what she was seeing. She acted just like how Xiao Yu, Lan Qingwei and the rest had when they came here for the very first time. Her eyes widened and her mouth was slightly opened. Looking at the tall and slender Ajaya in heels and her red outfit, Wang Xian felt desire welling up inside him. Following which, he turned his head over to look at Sun Lingxiu and Lan Qingwei. He had been in Yongchang World for close to 2 months and was already finding the thirst hard to endure. If Shuqing was fine, Wang Xian would have pulled them onto the incomparably huge dragon bed. After discarding some of these thoughts, he entered the dragon palace. Wang Xian carried Guan Shuqing and walked towards where the dragon throne was. At the dragon throne, The segment of the soul returning branch flew out of the space ring with just the thought of Wang Xian towards the progenitor tree. Countless miniature soul fruits had started growing on the soul returning branch. Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief as he prepared to carry Guan Shuqing towards the dragon pool. He wanted to see if the dragon blood within the dragon pool was sufficient to revive Shuqing. Screech, screech, screech. However, before Wang Xian started walking towards the dragon pool, the sound of rustling came from the progenitor tree. The next instant, a stream of fire shot towards him. Huh! Wang Xian was taken aback and turned his head instantly. This is Boundless branch! Wang Xian was taken aback and his attention was fixed fervently on the red branch of the progenitor tree. The branch emitted a red light as though there were rubies moving on it. That was the Boundless branch, a treasure Wang Xian had obtained in the Fire God Palace. At that time, the branch had penetrated his body and arrived at the Dragon Palace instantly. Wang Xian wasn't clear of the effects of the progenitor tree. However, the soul-returning tree could grow on it. Considering the terrifying soul-returning ability of the soul-returning tree, Wang Xian knew that the progenitor tree definitely wasn't something ordinary. The boundless branch that could grow on the progenitor tree would definitely be something extremely precious. The stream of fire shot towards him and landed on Guan Shuqing, who was in his embrace. The flames flowed towards the damaged area of her heart. The fiery red energy flowed into her heart instantly as though it was her blood. Wang Xian was surprised and watched in astonishment. Chapter 631 Level Up for Dragon Palace. Lem. Dong. Dong. As the flame from the boundless branch entered her heart like a stream of fresh blood, Guan Shuqing's heart began to beat. Wang Xian was frozen for a moment, as he was taken aback. He carried Guan Shuqing to the throne and placed her on it. This is the Boundless branch from the Fire God Palace. The Fire God's secret book mentioned that this Boundless branch was obtained by the Fire God by chance. It's amazing because it can give off fire without any energy in it. Looking at that half-meter Boundless branch on the progenitor tree, Ajay exclaimed in disbelief. This Boundless branch is extraordinary! Wang Xian stared at it. The flame on the Boundless branch never ceased even when the branch was dead. But after appearing on the progenitor tree, this branch grew a little and became even more incredible. As the flame from the Boundless branch entered the heart of Guan Shuqing, her pale-looking face recovered slowly, and her heart beat violently. With each beat, a fiery red glow emitted at the heart location. At the same time, a drop of fresh blood streamed towards the body. What's going on now? Is it Nirvana? Or? Wang Xian was shocked as he stared at Guan Shuqing. The vitality of Shuqing seems to be multiplying. Ajaya, Lan Qingwei, and the rest were elated as they sensed the vitality within Guan Shuqing. Wang Xian and the gang kept watch for more than 10 minutes. After noticing that Guan Shuqing was alright, they heaved a sigh of relief. All of you take a rest. Shuqing might wake up in no time. As Wang Xian spoke, he walked towards the dragon pool. With a movement from the space ring, the bodies of golden swordfish and the dragonians landed on the ground. The corpses ablated into the ground at a super-fast speed. Whoosh! Streams of blood flowed out from the 9 dragon heads. The pool of blood that was collected within the dragon pool slowly formed into an oval egg. The soul-returning branch and the dragon pool could resurrect the members of Dragon Sect. But this was limited to only within Dragon Sect and Dragon Palace, as the members of Dragon Palace and Dragonians owned the blood of Wang Xian and carried the mark of Dragon Palace. The progenitor tree in Dragon Palace already recognized Wang Xian as their owner. With his blood, anyone could be resurrected using the dragon pool and soul-returning branch. However, nothing would work without Wang Xian's blood. As such, only Xiao Yu, Elder Fang, and San Lingxiu among the 6 girls could be resurrected. Dragon King! At this time, Prime Minister Turtle, who had spotted Wang Xian earlier, swam over and greeted him when Wang Xian stopped for a rest. Hee hee! Upon seeing Prime Minister Turtle, Wang Xian beamed. The current Prime Minister Turtle was not a 7 meters colossal turtle. He was 7 meters tall, looked like someone in the 60s with a wisp of a beard, and had a shell behind his back. He looked just like the Prime Minister Turtle from Journey to the West on television. After going through the resurrection, he reshaped his body, and he possessed 2 forms now. Prime Minister Turtle has also advanced to the budding realm, which was 1 level up. Dragon King, do you want me to get the rest of the members here? Asked Prime Minister Turtle to Wang Xian. Nope. Continue with your cultivation. Wang Xian dismissed him with a wave as he headed back to his Dragon King Hall. He activated the space ring, and spiritual stones fell on the ground. Subsequently, a heap of metals that could refine spiritual equipment piled up on the side. All these spiritual stones and metals were obtained from the Yongchang world, while a myriad of metal could pile into a hill. Ding! 100,000 spiritual stones and a ton of spiritual grade material detected. Do you want to upgrade Dragon King Hall? Upgrade! Upon hearing the prompt from the system, radiance flashed in Wang Xian's eyes as he answered immediately. Upgrading Dragon King Hall to level 2 required 100,000 spiritual stones and a ton of spiritual grade material. After upgrading to level 2, the cultivation speed would be enhanced by 6 times. The spiritual energy within the Dragon Palace was already less dense than Yongchang World. But with the 6 times speed enhancement, the energy within Dragon Palace would be much thicker than Yongchang World. Sensing the instant boost of the surrounding energy, Wang Xian was elated. He swung his arm, bringing out 1,000 pieces of spiritual equipment, a ton of material with water properties, and 200,000 spiritual stones. Ding! 100,000 spiritual stones and a ton of water-attributed material detected. Do you want to upgrade Dragon Sect? Ding! 1,000 pieces of spiritual equipment detected. Do you want to upgrade Dragon Field? Ding! 100,000 spiritual stones detected. Do you want to upgrade Dragon Cave? Wang Xian confirmed all the notifications that came in. With every building upgraded in the Dragon Palace, the effect would be doubled. Take Dragon Field for instance. The current Dragon Field was at level 2, where members of Dragon Palace could practice and understand their attack techniques at twice the speed. This would significantly enhance their combat capacity. All the more, the Dragon Cave could boost the cultivation speed of the members by a fold. We're left with Dragon Array, Dehigh Divine Rod, and Dragon Pool not upgraded yet. Once we upgrade these 3 buildings, the Dragon Palace will be at level 2, which is maneuverable. Wang Xian pondered to himself. After upgrading the buildings, the material and spiritual equipment were almost depleted. All that was left in his space ring were elixir pills. Next, I need to enhance the cultivation and levels of Dragonians, and get some good rest in Dragon Palace. Wang Xian dived out of the water and notified Mo Qinglong and his men. Subsequently, he dragged his tired body back to the royal residence hall. Due to the stress from the fact that the 9 cauldron worlds were going to descend into the real world, Wang Xian basically did not rest in Yongchang World. Now, it was time to take a break. Back in his room, he already saw the girls sleeping on the bed. Perhaps they were too tired such that all of them were in a deep sleep. Wang Xian smiled as he walked to the bed and collapsed. When he woke up, he realized there was no one else except himself in the room. Wang Xian walked out with a broad smile as he spotted the girls cultivating in the dragon field. The incident had spurred them on, motivating them to cultivate themselves harder. Wang Xian visited Guan Shuqing, and everything was normal for her. He then proceeded to Dragon Field and gathered all the members of Dragon Palace. The current 9 level 12 venomous sea snakes were outstanding. 1 more level up, and they could evolve into serpents. They remained in their original forms without changing into humans. For the Iksha clan, they were all burly looking. Just as the Golden Swordfish clan had their weapons in their hands, the forks were carried in their muscular hands. Apart from roving Yiksha at level 12 and 15 of them at level 11, the rest of the entire patrolling Yiksha were at level 10. Devil monkeys remained in monkey forms with no changes. Roving Heavens was at level 12 while 10 of them were at level 11. The rest had advanced to level 10. On top of that, Roving Lobster and Roving Girl had advanced to level 11. The current strength of the Dragon Palace was already compelling. However, Wang Xian was still dissatisfied, especially after witnessing the prowess of the 9 Cauldron Worlds. Chapter 632 Enhanced Development. Establishing an underwater dynasty and civilization. Establishing a sea region under the jurisdiction of the Dragon Palace dynasty, and the Dragon Palace would be the Emperor Palace. Wang Xian could never think of such a thing or even dare to think that way. This was an establishment of a new kingdom, proclaiming him to be a real king. Even after Wang Xian obtained the system and set up a Dragon Palace, he had never thought of building an empire or a civilization as a modern person. Yet Prime Minister Turtle suggested he established one. Wang Xian remained silent with a constant mixed expression. But the radiance in his eyes glowed brighter and brighter. Oceans occupy 70% of the Earth's surface with races existing in the underwater world. But there isn't a real civilization in the sea just like the one on Earth. We can establish the first underwater civilization, the first empire. Those who defy our wish will be exterminated while the rest will become our subjects. Gather all the resources in the sea for the establishment of the civilization. We will take control of the myriad races in the sea. Even if we can only control a portion of them, we can still command them. The unlimited marine creatures will be our eyes, servicing us with the information that we need. Besides, we can set up our Dragon Gate. Whoever from the countless marine races that succeeds in leaping over the Dragon Gate will become our general of Dragon Sect. This could help us select and recruit talents, said Prime Minister Turtle to Wang Xian with excitement. Carry on! Wang Xian closed his eyes as he sank in his dragon throne. Currently, we only have the Devil Division, Dragon Guard Division, and over 200 Anomalocaris. During wars, there are various components such as formations, infantry, cavalry, archers. I think our members should be able to perform attacks, defense, close and remote attacks, air and land strikes and support. There was a beam of wisdom in Prime Minister Turtle's eyes. Not only this, but we also need to complement the attributes of the members in Dragon Palace. In the event that we need to conquer or deal with more powerful enemies, our formations will greatly enhance our combat capacity. Among the 9 attributes of the Divine Dragon, metal, earth, wind, thunder, and darkness are better in close-range fights whilst wood, water, fire, and light are good in remote fights. We can assign different roles accordingly to the members during battles. Lastly, we need to have wise civil subjects. They can be weak, but they must have strong analytical abilities and see things in a macro way. This would greatly benefit us in terms of territory management and warfare. Prime Minister Turtle slowly spoke while Wang Xian heaved a heavy breath. Establishing a real dynasty with its own territory and officials. The benefits of establishing an underwater dynasty were huge. As for wars, he also thought about the soldiers, ranged, support, and scouts. However, it was only a vague idea that Wang Xian had in mind. Now Prime Minister Turtle actually mentioned all these with a proper system. The establishment of an underwater dynasty is not an overnight event, Wang Xian murmured. Dragon King, we can make preparations first. At present, the Dragon Palace is the strongest within a radius of 1,000 miles. We can first unify the marine races, and cultivate generals from them. Every general of the marine races could rule those lower levels beings of the same kind. Then we'll make them leap over the Dragon Gate. Those who are able to enter Dragon Palace will be groomed as the soldiers of Dragon Palace. The best thing is, we can manage our territory better and get hold of the updates within it if we had them in control, said Prime Minister Turtle to Wang Xian. Great, you'll handle this now. Get Roving Heavens, Roving Yiksha, 9 venomous sea snakes, Anomalocaris, Roving Lobster, and Roving Girl over here now. Wang Xian nodded his head and commanded Prime Minister Turtle. Yes, Dragon King. I'll bring them over now. Prime Minister Turtle nodded his head. With a whiz, all of them rushed over. Dragon King. A group of level 12 members bowed to Wang Xian, who was sitting on the dragon throne. From now on, all of you shall listen to Prime Minister Turtle's commands when I'm not around. Cooperate with him as he's our majordomo from now on," Wang Xian ordered. "Yes, Dragon King!" Roving Heavens and the rest immediately nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Dragon King. From now on, I'll be preparing to set up a team of wise civil officials," said Prime Minister Turtle, kneeling down. "Sure. If you need any books, look for Mo Qinglong, and he'll get them for you." Wang Xian nodded. "Yes, Dragon King. Next, Prime Minister Turtle will make plans on how to expand our territory and get more resources. I'll leave this to you." "Yes, Dragon King. The rest of you keep cultivating. Now take your leave." "Yes." The so-called First Court meeting ended with Prime Minister Turtle and the members taking their leave. Wang Xian chuckled as he felt more and more competent as a Dragon King. He had no worries about the development of Dragon Palace since Prime Minister Turtle was around to save him the troubles. He could also leave all the things to the Dragon Sect members who were 100% loyal to him. For the next few days, Wang Xian stayed in the Dragon Palace, waiting for the awakening of Guan Shuqing. There was no day and night at Dragon Palace. When Ajaya and the rest were tired from their cultivation, they would return to the royal residence hall and rest. Wang Xian would definitely not miss the chance for a round of lovemaking. During these few days, he was leading a relaxing life. So beautiful! After the love session, Lan Qingwei came to the door of the royal residence hall and cast her gaze outside. There was a look of surprise on her face. The sea regions within a radius of 1,000 miles have been conquered by the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian saw that the densely packed marine creatures around the Dragon Palace were looking over in their direction in awe. The number of the surrounding marine creatures was in the billions. If he could devour all these marine creatures, he could definitely gain an immense amount of dragon energy. However, doing this, it was impossible for him to level up. Besides, these marine creatures were of great use. Under the gaze of Wang Xian, these marine creatures began their challenge of Dragon Gate. Their eyes were burning with fire as their natural instinct took over. After leaping over the Dragon Gate, they would have a completely different life then. Wang Xian smiled as he watched. He may not understand how to manage a country, but he knew that these marine creatures could increase the strength of the Dragon Palace by many folds. Those who successfully leaped over the Dragon Gate were all domineering existences. Even in the universe, they could be considered as wicked ones. And that is if they continue to work hard. "Dragon King, there are 30 marine creatures that leaped over the Dragon Gate this time." More than 10 hours later, Prime Minister Turtle came to report to Wang Xian after the Dragon Gate challenge was completed. "Only 30 out of tens of billions, that's 1 out of 10 billion. Wang Xian shook his head. "Dragon King, we have more than these billions of marine creatures in the waters near us. Those who came today were only from one of the batches. After all the marine creatures complete the challenge, I believe our strength will grow by more than 100 members." Chapter 633 Attacking Cities and Occupying Land. Dragon King, after days of investigation by the members of the Dragon Palace, we have decided to attack an area. However, through our investigation, this area isn't simple. After reporting on the matters of the marine races leaping through the Dragon Gate, Prime Minister Turtle continued with a solemn face. "Where are we attacking?" Wang Xian looked at Prime Minister Turtle and asked curiously. "Here." To Wang Xian's surprise, Prime Minister Turtle took out a map as he spoke. The map had detailed records of the sea region in the vicinity. Prime Minister Turtle had also divided the map into several regions. Wang Xian looked at the map and raised an eyebrow. On the map, the white region represented the sea region with a radius of 1,000 miles that the Dragon Palace was currently occupying. Other than that, to the east of the Dragon Palace was a region marked out in black. Other than the region demarcated in black, there were still regions demarcated in red and blue. These 3 regions were clearly separated. The black region marked out by Prime Minister Turtle seems to be the disordered region. The red region is the area near Japan, and the blue area is around India. Wang Xian looked at the map and thought to himself. Are we attacking the Black Region? Wang Xian asked. Yes, Dragon King. After our investigation, the Black Region is a place with bountiful resources. Although it is currently occupied by a large number of marine species, we can definitely give it a try with the strength that the Dragon Palace possesses currently. In this piece of sea region, we found a type of treasure called pure blood corals. Consuming these are highly beneficial for marine species, Prime Minister Turtle explained to Wang Xian. Pure blood corals? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow. He had heard about the pure blood corals in the disordered region when he was in the sea previously. Various forces and overseas wandering groups had gathered in that piece of sea region. Even the sacred sect had to be careful when entering the area. When are you planning to attack? Wang Xian asked Prime Minister Turtle. Right away. I'm thinking of mobilizing 300 devil monkeys and the Anomalocaris race. They will be led by Roving Heavens, the leader of the Anomalocaris race, Roving Girl, and Roving Lobster. Roving Sword will be stationed by the side. Prime Minister Turtle continued. There might be powerful creatures or races in this piece of sea region. We might not be able to occupy it this time, making it mainly a scouting mission. Powerful creatures? Could there be any creature that could match Roving Sword? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow. Dragon King, the region we are occupying is a region where marine resources are lacking. There aren't many marine species that have gathered here. The 3 regions that I have demarcated are regions where there are tremendous resources and races. The Black region has pure blood corals. Through our investigation, the Red region has a deep Grand Canyon. There are some spiritual objects within it and various terrifying races. Strange seabed creatures are densely congregating in the Blue region. There should be some mystical objects in that place. Prime Minister Turtle introduced each region to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head silently. The sea was an incomparably mystical place with various races occupying different areas. In that case, ask the Dragonians to follow me over. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded his head. Qingwei, Lingxiu, Ajaya. Didn't you say that it's a little boring here? Let's go out for a trip. Wang Xian stepped into the royal residence hall and spoke to the 3 girls. Go out? What about Xu Qing? Are we leaving her behind alone? Lan Qingwei looked at Wang Xian and asked. Xu Qing has made it past the critical stage. I'll get Prime Minister Turtle to take care of her. Let's go on a trip. It won't take long. Wang Xian smiled and said to the girls. The girls immediately nodded their heads joyously. They had been staying in the Dragon Palace for over 20 days. Other than the time they were on the bed making love, they had spent all their time cultivating. This made them feel a little bored. I'll go inform Xiao Yu and Elder Fang. Wang Xian moved and arrived at the peak of a nearby mountain. Xiao Yu and Elder Fang had dug out a cave abode. Although it wasn't as luxurious as the royal residence hall, it wasn't bad at all. It's a great idea to get some rest outside. Xiao Yu chuckled and followed Wang Xian to the surface of the water. When Wang Xian boarded the yacht on the surface of the sea, Roving Heavens, the leader of the Anomalocaris race, Roving Lobster, Roving Girl, and Roving Sword had already led the 500 Dragon Palace members to wait for Wang Xian at the bottom of the sea. At the same time, Mo Qinglong and the other Dragonians would also be following them. Mo Qinglong had now reached half-step to budding realm while the rest of the Dragonians were at the Dan realm. Overall, they were still a respectable force. The Dragon Palace felt more comfortable than the outside world. Upon boarding the yacht, Ajaya took a deep breath and frowned instantly. That's to be expected. The spiritual energy in the royal residence hall is several times that of the outside world. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. He took out a map and said, We are heading to the disordered region. At the edge of the disordered region, there's a coral island. That's our destination, and we will be playing there for a few days. Wang Xian pointed to an island on the map as he spoke. Glacier Coral Island? Great! That's a famous tourist island. I heard that there's a spring on the island. Taking a bath there would be great for the skin. Xiao Yu remarked excitedly. Wang Xian nodded his head with a smile. Let's head towards there then. When we reach it, you girls can play on the island for several days while the members of the Dragon Palace will head towards the disordered region. All right, let's go, the 5 girls replied with smiles. Tourism was probably something that every girl was interested in. It was especially so for Xiaoyu. She had not been to many places and was interested to know more about the outside world. Put on a clean set of clothes and have some tea. Xiaoyu skipped to the second floor of the yacht, changed to a set of clean clothes and poured herself a cup of tea. Initially, she didn't have a love for tea. However, these tea leaves were brought back by Wang Xian from the Yongchang world. Not only would one feel refreshed with just a sip, but they would also want to keep trying the tea. It was the same for the other girls. After which, they took out their mobile phones. After being disconnected from the world for a few days, they could finally have some fun. Wang Xian chuckled while standing by the side. He could sense the Dragon Palace members and the Dragonians below him while looking far ahead. The disordered region spanned a radius of 1,000 miles. That was a restricted region for navigation and fishing. Some old fishermen had circulated that the place was filled with underwater sea monsters and countless ruthless pirates. Death was almost certain for those who headed there for fishing. The yacht moved rapidly. After 5 hours, an island appeared before their eyes. We have reached Glacier Coral Island, the island that is ranked in the top 5 most beautiful islands. Xiaoyu looked ahead with anticipation. Glacier Coral Island was a huge island. The population of the island stood at approximately 1 million, and 50% of the population was made up of tourists. Wang Xian looked ahead. 10 kilometers ahead of the Glacier Coral Island would be part of the disordered region. Based on what Prime Minister Turtle said, if we can occupy this area, the Dragon Palace's strength will increase by 2 times. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. The members of the Dragon Palace were here to occupy the region below the sea, while the Dragonians of the Dragon sect were here to occupy the sea surface. The sea would be the territory of the Dragon Palace in the future. Chapter 634 Fashion Show. Xiaoyu, Qingwei, Lingxiu, you girls stay here while I settle some stuff in the disordered region. The yacht approached the island and parked under the guidance of the staff. Wang Xian scanned the entire island, where it seemed to be overcrowded. You're going over now? It's almost evening. Lan Qingwei and the rest fixed their discontented eyes on Wang Xian. I was hoping you could accompany us. Wang Xian shook his head and smiled. After I settle the remaining stuff here, I can join all of you for a few days here. Sir, aren't you here for the Victoria's Secret fashion show? Why are you leaving again? Asked the staff from the Glacier Coral Island in bewilderment, when he overheard their conversation. Victoria's Secret fashion show? Xiaoyu, Lan Qingwei, and the rest froze for a moment with a surprised look surfacing on their faces. Didn't you know about it? The reason for the crowd on this island these few days is because of Victoria's Secret fashion show. So I thought you guys came to watch it too. The staff smiled and did not say anything further. Is it being held today? The 5 girls exchanged gazes as they asked with glistening eyes. Yes, it's tonight. This time it's a public show, but it will be crowded. The staff nodded. Sir and Madam, do you want to book a hotel? Yes, 2 presidential suites. Lan Qingwei nodded and stared at the rest of the girls fervently. It's the Victoria's Secret fashion show. We must have a look and buy some clothes. That's right. Hee, but I wonder if there are any more front row seats. All the angelic beauties from all over the world will be here. I feel like going too. Not only Lan Qingwei, but even Sun Lingxiu, who would have always been indifferent, was also full of interest now. No woman disliked beauty. Xiao Xian, are you going? If not, we're going to have fun ourselves tonight. Lan Qingwei huddled over and smiled at him. Fine, I'll go with you girls. Wang Xian shrugged and spoke with a smile. Hey, are you sure you're not changing your mind because it's the Victoria's Secret fashion show? What a pervert! Heh. The girls stared at Wang Xian, making him speechless. Am I that kind of person? I feel content with you girls around. Wang Xian shook his head immediately as he responded with a serious face. Who will believe you? Lan Qingwei rolled eyes at him. Let's go. It's 3 p.m. now. The show starts at 6. Let's go and get our tickets. Hurry, there are probably no tickets by now. Might have some scalper tickets? Let's see if we can get some. Although this was a public show, it had a seating area, and therefore tickets were required. In the country, there was once a fashion show where tickets were resold for more than 300,000. Even so, there were buyers around. One could imagine how crazy that fashion show was. Those who could enter the show were people who had a net worth of more than 10 million. Moreover, it was a lingerie show that featured the top-notch beauties from all around the world. Wang Xian had heard of the Victoria's Secret fashion show too. He ordered the members of Dragon Palace to enter the disordered region first, while Mo Qinglong and his gang waited for him someplace on the island. Brother, go and ask where to buy the tickets. Arm in arm, the 5 girls instructed Wang Xian. Fine. Adding to his loss for words, Wang Xian found a passerby and asked him. Follow me, but I'm not sure if there are any more tickets. Wang Xian headed to a vintage building along with the girls. Glacier Coral Island, as a world-renowned tourist island, had a superb environment. Clean land, warm sunshine, clear skies with distinct colors from the sea. Cool hunks and hotties were all around the island. You better get us the tickets no matter what. Xiao Yu grumbled while Wang Xian chuckled and patted her head. They came to the official ticket office, and sure enough, the tickets had been sold out since it was near to the opening time. I'll check if there are any scalper tickets. Wang Xian shrugged as he surveyed his surroundings. Hey buddy, want tickets? Just then, a young man approached Wang Xian with a hint of excitement in his eyes. He fished tickets out of his pockets. Her? How many do you have? Asked Wang Xian immediately after pausing for a moment. How many do you want? The young man asked instead. 6. Do you have them? Wang Xian raised his eyebrow. Yes, one for 400,000. It's in the front row. The young man scrutinized him from head to toe before he said this right away. Give me 6 tickets. 400,000 for a ticket was a skyrocketed amount. 6 would make 4 million. Are they authentic tickets? Wang Xian asked impassively upon seeing the young man taking out his notebook, getting ready for the bank transfer. Don't worry. Look for me if you got fake tickets. There are bank transfer records. The young man drew his lips and spoke with confidence. Great! Without any further words, Wang Xian transferred the money over. Done! Wang Xian waved the 6 tickets in his hands and looked toward the girls. Awesome! Let's find a place and take a short break. The 5 girls pointed at a place and walked over while Wang Xian followed behind with a broad smile. Haha, rich people are dumb. Such an idiot! That young man who had sold the scalper tickets was looking all excited as he stared at the disappearing figures. He didn't even bother to check? What a dumbass! Perhaps he's too silly such that he has 5 babes surrounding him. Humph! The young man could not help but kiss his notebook. So what if you find out about my account? I have joined the Yaofeng Wandering Group as my backing if you dare to seek trouble. With this money, I can buy some pure blood coral to enhance my cultivation level. The young man murmured as he walked to a building in the middle with a beaming face. Wang Xian accompanied the 5 girls for afternoon tea while they were taking pictures without stopping. Let's go! Around 5, Wang Xian brought the ladies to the Victoria's Secret fashion show. The show was located in the middle of the island, and was set up outdoors with a luxurious catwalk stage and seating area. Many people came to watch the show, including not only men but also babes. Among these, there were renowned celebrities invited over from Asia. Every year, the Victoria's Secret fashion show marked a grand feast that brought together the top brands from the world and the most trendy lingerie. Not only did it attract the men, but it also attracted the ladies. Wang Xian had to say he decided to postpone his trip to the disordered region to tomorrow because of this. When Wang Xian and the ladies arrived, the entrance was crowded with over thousands of people. All of them were lined up to verify their tickets. Chapter 635, Wet Their Pants 1. Wow, there are so many people around. Yeah, take a look ahead. Oh gosh! That's Ling Tianwei. The singing diva of Asia, Ling Tianwei. That's the movie star, Lu Kongfei. There are so many stars here. There are so many stars from our country. And there are several stars from Japan and Korea too. Other than those elite stars, there are also a substantial number of famous businessmen and rich second generations. There are so many people from our country. Hee hee. Let's see if there are any nice outfits here. We can buy some here. Xiao Yu, Lan Qingwei, Ajaya, and the two other girls discussed excitedly. I'll show you something great tonight. If there's anything nice, I'll get it for you. Wang Xian interrupted upon hearing their conversation. This was the second objective of Wang Xian for coming to this place. Buying some clothes for them. Wearing various styles would be pleasing to the eyes. I know you wouldn't be so nice to us suddenly. Lan Qingwei rolled her eyes at him. She turned to hold Ajaya's arms and commented. I feel that with Sister Ajaya's height and figure, she would definitely be the center of attention in a fashion show. Yeah. Sister-in-law Ajaya's figure is really great. If only I had a figure as great as you. What are you looking at? At this moment, a furious voice came from behind them. No matter how great my figure is, I'm just a toy. Aren't I pretty? Guys like you are creatures that will only think with your lower half. At this moment, the group could hear the voices of girls from behind their backs. Their voices were sharp and annoying. Wang Xian frowned slightly and turned around. There was a group of 5 behind them, of which 3 were girls while 2 were guys. Wang Xian could recognize one of the girls and one of the guys. They were some small stars within the country. To put it bluntly, there were stars without significant works or capabilities that had only become stars through marketing gimmicks. The other 2 girls were roughly 20 to 30 years old, and were wearing branded clothes throughout. One was slightly plump while the other had the face of an internet celebrity. The slightly plump girl was unhappy with the guy beside her, who was staring at her. I've just taken a glance. Not a second more, the guy said apologetically to the girl. You are not allowed to take even a glance. If you dare to look at other vixens again, don't blame me for not being courteous. The slightly plump girl stared at the guy and spoke with a domineering front. All right. The guy nodded his head profusely, seemingly a little afraid of that plump girl. TSK. You are the ugly one and yet you still dare call others a vixen. Upon hearing the girl behind her, Xiaoyu looked over in contempt and blurted this out. With her brother around, there was nothing she was afraid of. If someone was insulting them, Xiaoyu would naturally retort. What? Who are you calling ugly? Who are you talking about? When the slightly plump girl heard Xiaoyu, the excess flesh on her face constricted as she stared harshly at Xiaoyu. The ugly person would know. What are you getting so worked up for? Xiaoyu smirked and replied plainly. TSK. Some people might have a pretty face but their hearts are black. No one knows how many men they have slept with. Yuan, don't be bothered by them. That's right. Some girls might be pretty but no one knows how dirty their bodies are. The other 2 girls beside the plump girl stared coldly at Xiaoyu and the girls while ridiculing them. I have seen many pretty girls, especially in the entertainment circle. Those pretty girls will do anything to make their names known. Hee hee. The male star standing by the side said to the plump girl. They don't even have a branded piece on them and yet they dare to be here. They definitely are sugar babies. However, their sugar daddy is probably a poor fuck. The slightly plump lady looked at Xiaoyu and the girls and jealousy gleamed in her eyes as she remarked ruthlessly. You are. Ticket check. Please take out your ticket. Just as Xiaoyu and the girls were about to retort, they heard the voice of the employee ahead. They stopped and simply stared at the group. Watch your words and don't bring yourself unnecessary troubles. You guys wouldn't be able to take it. Wang Xian stared emotionlessly at the group of 5 as he issued his warning. Hee hee. Who do you think we are? We wouldn't be able to take it. The guy who was standing by the side with his arms on his waist and earrings in his ears stared at Wang Xian with contempt upon hearing him. "I'm sorry, ladies, these tickets are fake." At this moment, the voice of the employee sounded. "What? What?" Xiao Yu, Lan Qingwei and the girls were stunned and exclaimed in astonishment. Wang Xian raised an eyebrow and a tinge of killing intent flashed across his eyes. He turned, ignoring the male star. He turned around and said, "We got these tickets from a reseller." "I'm sorry. These are indeed fake tickets. Since you bought them from non-official channels, we won't be able to take responsibility for it." The young employee apologized upon hearing Wang Xian. "Haha. Fake tickets. How interesting. Could it be that you couldn't afford the real tickets and made some fake tickets with the hope of getting in? That's a real possibility. Just take a look at the way they're dressed. It's within reason to think that they couldn't afford the tickets." Ridicule from the guys and girls sounded from behind them, annoying Wang Xian. The clothes on Xiao Yu, Lan Qingwei and the girls were all level 12 spiritual equipment that he had refined. It was just that the style was similar to modern clothing. Without any labels, they were seen as cheap clothing in the eyes of others. How dare they lie to me? They must be tired of living. At the thought of the young man who had sold him the fake tickets, ruthlessness flashed across his eyes. "Get out of the way. Why are you still standing there? Don't delay our entrance." Once again, the voices of the girls and guys behind them sounded. "Huh? What happened? What's the matter?" The commotion at the entrance had instantly drawn the attention of the surrounding crowd. The truth was, some people had noticed this place when the quarrel started. "I think they bought some fake tickets." "Fake tickets? Tickets can be verified directly. Why would there still be people falling for the fake tickets?" The surrounding crowd discussed in shock. "That guy. He looks familiar." "Huh. He is. Gosh. It's him. It's really him. In that case, those girls with him." At this moment, some middle-aged and old men around him opened their eyes widely as astonishment was written all over their faces. There was a person whose name was known throughout the world. It was especially so since a month ago. In that catastrophe, all the families and sects in the country circulated a photo to warn all people not to court their own deaths. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to trouble the people in the photos to take action. Their families and sects would kill them personally. Following which, news of this incident had also reached all the rich and wealthy businessmen in the country. When this group of rich and wealthy businessmen heard the news, they almost wet their pants. Chapter 636, Wet Their Pants 2. Having 60% of the entire underworld wiped out was such a scary matter. Those affluent families and tycoons knew something about the underworld. Even though it might seem far to them, it was, in fact, not the case. In the face of those compelling martial artists, they had always been in reverence of them, not to mention those powerful ancient martial artist families. Yet, such a daunting underworld had 60% of its strength massacred by one man. Massacring 60% of the martial artists, and the ancestral sects of the underworld. What concept is this? This was the massive modern massacre. In this peaceful era, killing one or two people was the most heinous criminal. Then what about the one who dared to kill more than 10,000 people? Killing one is a sin, but killing thousands is overbearing. When those tycoons heard the news, they broke into a cold sweat and almost wet their pants. They were exclaiming that the underworld was such a scary place. Hence, they tried to obtain this person's information through various ties and channels. Dragon King of Dragon Sect? Those who had the resources had already gotten a picture of Dragon King to check out his look. They did it not out of curiosity but more for a precautionary measure. They could not afford to offend such a domineering existence, not even for the richest man in the country. No one could do anything even if he killed the top 10 moguls in the country. Not even the government could control such a person. Those who had the photo kept the face in mind so that they could avoid him at all costs if they ever encountered him. Yet, all of them present were not expecting they would meet Wang Xian in person on this very day. or even encounter such a drama. The Dragon King actually bought fake tickets? They could not help but pray for the fellow who had sold the tickets, and secretly praise him for his boldness. That fellow who dared to cheat this man was definitely seeking his own doom. Apart from the ticket seller, they also took their hats off to several young people who had mocked the Dragon King and his girlfriends. They were deeply impressed by their ways of seeking quick death. Those who recognized Wang Xian had constant mixed expressions. One of the middle-aged men were looking even more dreadful. He was the director of Heavenly King Media, the famous bachelor and the boss of the largest media company in the country. As he fixed his eyes on the 5 young people, especially the guy with the earrings and the pretty girl, he almost wanted to faint. Darn! He could not help but curse as he felt like crying out. He remembered clearly the other time when a big shot from the Underworld had called him, saying that one of his artistes had offended the Dragon King. Upon hearing the news, he almost jumped. Back then, the Dragon King was a colossus. Compared to the past, the Dragon King had grown even scarier, driving people to the wall. Why are those who offended Dragon King all from Heavenly King Media? Darn! Director Wang of Heavenly King Media was shaking in his boots. He was afraid that this brutal Dragon King would slaughter him straight away. Shit! With a mixed expression, Director Wang bit the bullet, dragging his stiff body over to Wang Xian. Dragon King! When Wang Xian wanted to teach the group of young people a lesson after hearing what they said, a sudden cry came from behind. Her? Her? Wang Xian frowned and turned around, fixing his cold eyes on that middle-aged man. When both the celebrities saw the middle-aged man, they froze for a moment before standing up straight and calling out fervently. Director Wang! Director Wang ignored the 2 ignorant celebrities and forced a dreadful-looking smile on his face. Dragon King, I'm Sha Wang from Heavenly King Media. As Director Wang spoke, he wiped away the film of cold sweat on his forehead. Our damn celebrities have offended you. I'll give you a satisfactory answer to this. Just leave it to me, and I'll make sure you're happy with the outcome. Please do not mind those 2 useless beggars. What? The words that came from Director Wang struck the 2 celebrities dumb. Unbelievable looks surfaced on their faces. Their eyes widened when they saw their director lowering his body, humbling himself. Director Wang was the CEO of a company with a market value worth billions. Now it turned out. And he even said those kinds of words. Dragon King, I have 3 tickets over here. I hope you don't mind. Take them, and I'll get you another 3. Seeing that Wang Xian did not utter any words, Director Wang hurriedly handed over his admission tickets. Hello, Dragon King! Just then, all the suited-up middle-aged men walked over with respect. Their voices were soft as they humbled themselves. All of them held tickets in their hands. Dragon King, I have some admission tickets too. Go in with the ladies. Dragon King, I have some too. Here's for you. Leave those 5 fellows to me. I'll take care of them. Yes, leave it to us. Cease your anger, Dragon King! After Director Wang of Heavenly King Media walked over, those middle-aged men hesitated before they gritted their teeth and headed over with their tickets. They were not trying to befriend or curry favors, but rather, they did it out of awe and fear. Instinctively, they walked over with the admission tickets. They were not hoping Dragon King could remember them, or asking for any advantages from him. It was purely out of reverence. At this time, the 5 young people behind Wang Xian were completely stunned. The director of Heavenly King Media, the largest media group within the country. The director of Donghao Group had a market value worth billions. The young master of the Lin Foundation, whose family's assets were worth hundreds of billions. The CEO of MO Cube Technology Company in Modu with a net worth of over 10 billion. Each one of them was a renowned big shot, but now, they were all walking over to that young man respectfully. All of them humbled themselves and handed over the tickets in their hands. Every big shot had at least 3 to 4 tickets, acting like they were some minions. What kind of people could strike reverence and fear into them? However, what they said shook the 5 young people. These several big shots said they were just some insignificant damn figures. Leave it to them. Their eyes dimmed. What kind of people did they offend or ridicule? I just need 6 tickets and that will do. Thank you. Wang Xian extended his hand and thanked them. Dragon King, take mine. I'll handle the 5 people. Plus mine, Dragon King. Take mine. The other middle-aged man and Director Wang hastened to pass the tickets over. Well, thank you. Wang Xian nodded to the 2 middle-aged men. Director Wang and that middle-aged were so happy as though they were some elementary students being praised by their teacher. Chapter 637, Plotting 1. Puff puff. They are in. They are finally in. Who would have expected us to meet the Dragon King in this place? Seeing Wang Xian and the 5 girls enter, those middle-aged men standing outside wiped the cold sweat from their faces. From the beginning to the end, Wang Xian didn't speak on the matter. Nonetheless, this still brought immense pressure to them. The name of Dragon King had resounded throughout China after the incident a month ago. He was definitely an existence that no one could afford to offend in all of China. Even if it was just criticism, no one dared to. This was respect and fear built on violence. Director Wang turned around to look at the group of 5 and his attention fell on the 2 artistes under his company. At this very moment, the 5 of them stood in one corner, feeling horrified. That's right. They were horrified. It was as though they had just witnessed something terrifying. Director Lin, leave the 5 of them to us. Director Wang looked at the few people around him, pulled a long face and remarked. Yeah, leave them to us. Make sure you handle this cleanly. We can't afford to draw the irk of that guy. You don't have to kill them. Crippling them would be sufficient. Several other directors nodded their heads. The group of 5 had turned as pale as snow and despair filled their faces. Director, we have learned our lesson. We have learned our lesson. Please let us go. Director, we are artistes under your company. When that male star heard the conversation of Director Wang, his face was incomparably pale as he begged for mercy from the middle-aged man. It isn't that I wouldn't want to let you off. It's that you guys have courted your own deaths. You have offended the only person that couldn't be offended in China. Yang Zhe was a good example. Who would have thought that you guys would court your own deaths? Don't blame me for being merciless. Director Wang stared emotionlessly at them. What? Yang Zhe? That male star was stunned and despair filled his face. Yang Zhe was also an artiste under Heavenly King Media. A few months ago, he was announced dead by the official channel of Heavenly King Media. At that time, the entire company was shocked. Initially, everyone thought he had really passed away. What they learned later was that he had offended some terrifying figure. The infuriated director announced he was dead right away and hid away from the public. Nothing was heard about him since then. Subsequently, they found out that Yang Zhe's family had declared bankruptcy, were now beggars. No, no. He staggered back unconsciously, and his eyes were dead. Both of you have offended the same person. However, as compared to the previous case, forget it. Regardless, your future is over. Director Wang didn't explain further. He looked at the few people around him and started calling up more people. Xiao Xian, I had not expected your name to be able to command such fear and respect. When they entered the show, Lan Qinghua smiled radiantly as she spoke to Wang Xian. She could recognize some of those middle-aged men. All of them were huge characters that could match her Lan family. As long as the 9 cauldron worlds have not descended into the world, no force is a match for ours in the country. They are naturally fearful of me. Wang Xian chuckled. After experiencing the cleansing of the underworld, he naturally knew his standing within the underworld and all of China. I wonder what changes the people from those worlds will bring to the country. Will there be chaos and riots? Sun Linxiu pondered before asking. I don't know. However, each cauldron world has approximately 10 million people. All of them together will add at least 100 million to the population. There will probably be huge changes to China, said Wang Xian. Other than the huge population, almost everyone in the 9 cauldrons worlds practiced martial arts. At that time, the setting of the underworld would change completely. In fact, even the lands of the country would experience major changes. Besides that, the descent of the 9 cauldrons to the real world would bring about a terrifying impact. That was that the 9 cauldrons would stabilize and ensure the stability of the country. When the 9 cauldrons stabilized all of China, spiritual energy would be greatly increased. The land of China would gather spiritual qi from the entire earth. At that time, the entire earth would be affected. No one knew the changes this would bring to the other countries and regions. The future was filled with uncertainties. There was a high probability that a world of ancient martial arts would slowly descend into the world. Just as Wang Xian was thinking, the Victoria's Secret fashion show had started and beautiful models started their walk. Xiao Yu, Lan Qingwei, and the other girls pointed at the beautiful girls on stage while commenting. They were commenting on their clothing and they were extremely excited about it. Wang Xian chuckled and watched with excitement. The faces of Western girls can't be compared with Ajaya and the girls. Ajaya's figure is overwhelmingly better. In the aspect of facial features, Qingwei, Lingxiu, and the rest are miles ahead. After seeing a dozen odd beautiful girls, Wang Xian's interest level declined. Ordinary people can't be compared with martial artists. It is especially so for a powerful martial artist like Ajaya. Fair and silky skin like a baby and the correct curves at the front and back. That feeling. Hee hee. Leader, take a look around. Whoever catches your eyes, I'll send her to you tonight. At this moment, Wang Xian heard the voice of a middle-aged man from his side. There was a 50-odd-year-old man beside him. The old man was burly and felt like he was brimming with strength. Hee hee. The old man squinted his eyes and said, "Those on the stage are beautiful, but those below the stage are even better." As the old man spoke, he turned his head around and faced Lan Qingwei and the girls. "Oh?" The middle-aged man raised an eyebrow, chuckled sheepishly and said, "Leader, leave this to me. I'll definitely send them all to you tonight." The old man nodded his head while playing with his little beard before turning around and leaving with a vile look. With Qingwei, Lingxiu, and Ajaya's figures and looks, they are indeed magnets for trouble wherever they go. Wang Xian shook his head gradually. A blue and red light flashed across his eyes as he looked at the middle-aged and old men. Huh! Dan realm experts? Wang Xian was taken aback. He squinted his eyes and sank into deep thought. His intentions of putting these 2 guys to rest had also dissipated gradually. Wang Xian didn't say a word and simply accompanied Xiao Yu, Lan Qingwei, and the girls till the end of the show. After the show, the 5 girls pulled Wang Xian along for supper energetically. Supper on the yacht was a unique attraction of the Glacier Coral Island. Each yacht wasn't large and could fit 7 to 8 people. At the same time, each yacht had all kinds of delicacies. The 5 girls wished to have supper out at sea. Thus, Wang Xian rented a small yacht and steered it towards the sea. There were many other yachts around them. Each yacht had several lanterns hanging around, making the scenery of the water's surface extremely beautiful. Wang Xian looked towards the shore and revealed a faint smile. "You guys can have your dinner here in a while. I have something to handle," Wang Xian said to the 5 girls. "Huh! Brother, what's the matter?" Xiao Yu looked towards Wang Xian curiously. "They must be from some forces of the disordered region. I need to settle some stuff." You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.